Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Hokage, I Legend, Eyes of My God. Chapter 51. After Tsunade and Yusuke stayed together for a while, Yusuke opened the door for business, and Jiraiya and Orochimaru finally returned to the tavern. What were you in such a hurry for? The situation in the southwest has become increasingly tense recently. The third generation project asked me to take the ninjas there for a mission. To the west of Konoha, the Kingdom of Wind and the Kingdom of Rain are all in this direction. This time, I plan to take Nawaki with me. Yusuke couldn't make up his mind for a moment, but when he lowered his head, he saw Nawaki behind Jiraiya. Although he tried hard to restrain himself, he still showed excitement. It seems like it's okay to keep it closed like this all the time. Besides, Nawaki has performed very well in the past few months and has seen blood during missions. It seems that it is not impossible to follow Orochimaru on a mission. After thinking about it, Yusuke nodded towards Nawaki. Okay, but please pay attention to your safety. When to set off? Yusuke asked casually, and Orochimaru answered directly. Right now, if possible, I would like to have a drink before leaving. Then I'll give you a free cup of celebration wine when you return from your mission. The two looked at each other and smiled. After saying this, Orochimaru was about to take Nawaki out. Wait a moment. Orochimaru was about to take Nawaki out when Yusuke suddenly spoke and stopped the two of them. Orochimaru and Nawaki turned back at the same time. After the two turned around, Orochimaru clearly saw that Yusuke's expression turned cold. I didn't get enough rest, so my energy level was a little low today. Although I just had a round of Tsunade talk therapy, my mood was only high, and my energy level was still low. Yusuke couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. Fortunately, I finally saw it. Yusuke walked quickly to Nawaki and squatted down, staring at the thing on Nawaki's neck. Today is your birthday. Yusuke stared at Nawaki's neck and asked in a cold tone, why didn't you tell me? Nawaki scratched his head in embarrassment, but faced with such a serious Yusuke, he could only answer truthfully. The main reason is that my sister said that you have something on your mind and asked me not to bother you, and Mr. Orochimaru just said that he would take me on a mission. I was so excited, forgot. After Nawaki answered, he looked at his teacher, who had studied many tricks with him, but he found that his teacher's eyes were still on his neck. Or on the necklace. Of course Yusuke recognized the necklace. This is Tsunade's birthday gift to Nawaki on his 12th birthday. A necklace given to Tsunade from first generation. Children are always easily excited, especially the day after receiving a gift. This sentence suddenly appeared in Yusuke's mind. The corresponding scene is when Nawaki is outside the morgue, Orochimaru takes out the necklace and says these words. WC, I seem to have forgotten this matter during the divination last night. So, this is it. Yusuke quickly came to his senses and started to take out something. Bring these things with you. As he spoke, Yusuke took out a few small objects and placed them in Nawaki's hands quite solemnly. Orochimaru and others have long been accustomed to the setting that Yusuke can always pull out a bunch of strange things from his butt. Sacred relics, flowers of life, the period of blooming flowers, sands of time, the ballad of living beings, and empty cup, the ladle of dreams and awakenings in Wagwan's dream and awakening corpse. Death feather of guardian heart, guardian seal, crown of reason, guardian girdle. Because the effect of the holy relic can only have a set effect when it is a 2-piece set or a 4-piece set, so even if the Wagwan has 3 pieces, it still has the effect of a 2-piece set. The 2 sets of holy relics are the same as Mito's, 2 plus 2, and the set effects are the same. It's just that Mito's 1 adds 20% health, and Nawaki's 2 sets have the effect of increasing defense power by 30%. And the main entries are all defense. Anyway, adding defense is the most common. After a set of small items, Yusuke took out a 2-handed sword from behind his buttocks. When he and Jiraiya were sparring, he smashed the sword of Jiraiya Toryuha. Yusuke certainly knows that if you want to stand firm, defense is indeed part of it, and health is also important. Therefore, Yusuke chose to take out the rubbish at the bottom of his box. No, it should be said to be Nawaki's special skill. Bell sword, especially the weapon skill, the rebellious guardian, strengthened Yusuke's idea of giving this sword to Nawaki. Rebellious guardian. when receiving damage, generate a shield that absorbs damage equal to 32% of the upper limit of health, lasting for 10 seconds or until the shield expires, and can only be triggered once every 45 seconds. When the character is protected by a shield, the damage dealt is increased by 24%. When the refining is full, I have drawn 5 of these rubbish, two-handed swords. The damage caused by the explosion is not a one-time damage. But when he was injured, it also meant that Zhang Jian's weapon skills were triggered. The increased damage while under the shield is not important, what is important is that the shield is generated by taking damage. Do you like the birthday gift I gave you? Like. Nawaki used to train with Samsung's white iron swords before, but now this bell sword is undoubtedly much more handsome, and he directly pinned the chocolate-colored sword behind his back. Patting Nawaki on the shoulder, Yusuke said to Nawaki with a smile, "Go and be safe." Yes. After saying that, Orochimaru took Nawaki out directly. As for stopping Nawaki, this is his own choice. Yusuke knows that there is nothing he can do to stop it. Because he has a grandfather who is above the current ninja world, the first generation project puts pressure on him, but at the same time, the first generation project is also the motivation for Nawaki to work hard. When he took over this necklace, it meant that he had already set the first generation project as his goal in this life. When Tsunade gave the first generation necklace to himself and gave it to Nawaki on his 12th birthday, Nawaki said something. That's why he liked the gift. Not just this necklace, the entire village is a treasure for the first generation, so I will definitely protect him. Because I am the grandson of the first Hokage who founded Konoha. Looking at Nawaki's back, Yusuke was a little distracted for a moment. After Nawaki was completely gone, he turned around and saw Tsunade. You're not jealous of your brother, are you? Tsunade didn't answer, but asked his own question. How did you know that Nawaki's birthday is today? Didn't you say that you would give the necklace to Nawaki on his birthday? Did I say that? Tsunade wanted to remember, but couldn't. It seems like you said it after drinking. What do you want to eat tonight? Nawaki's figure carrying a huge sword can be said to be quite conspicuous in the marching team. Or rather eye-catching, because Konoha's ninjas generally don't use this type of weapon. Even those who use ninja swords are usually of a slender type. There is no such thing as Nawaki. The sword is almost as wide as the door panel of his house. In this way, Nawaki successfully became the weirdest person in the room. In addition to being weird about Nawaki's impression, he also recognized Nawaki's strength. Although the sword he carries on his back seems to be the heaviest weight in the entire team, in fact, Nawaki's sword has always been in the second position in the entire team. The first is Orochimaru. Orochimaru also kept observing Nawaki along the way. After seeing Nawaki's ease, Orochimaru was very pleased. At the same time, he also silently agreed with Yusuke's evaluation of himself when talking about Nawaki. It seemed that I had indeed doted on Nawaki before. Logically speaking, Nawaki, as a genin, cannot participate in a battle of this level. But Nawaki, as the teacher-collector, now has 5 teachers including Jiraiya. Orochimaru, Yusuke, Might Dai, Jiraiya, and Hatake Tsukumo. Hatake Tsukumo mainly teaches the E-level taijutsu mysteries. Of course, he will also teach Nawaki normally, not just to be completely weird. Under the training of these 5 people, Nawaki himself had long been able to take the Chunin exam and become a Chunin. With more practice, he was almost as strong as a Jonin, but he simply never took it. Therefore, Nawaki's strength is definitely no problem for today's task. The target of this mission is the Sunagaker ninja who secretly sneaked into the Land of Fire. There should be 9 people on the target, including 2 who are on night watch. After I take care of the sentry, the rest of you will go directly into their camp. You must eliminate all the remaining enemies in the camp without alerting them. Do you understand? Hi. Everything went according to plan. Latent Shadow Snake Hand. Orochimaru's right hand instantly turned into 4 snakes, like fishing lines, piercing the necks of the 2 sentries. Tangled, suffocated, and bitten by snakes again, the 2 watchers soon lost consciousness in pain. Hiss hiss. My brother-in-law always simulates this sound in his ears. I was so annoyed that I had this sound in my dreams every day, so I asked Yusuke what the sound was. At that time, Yusuke's answer was, It's the sound of the detonating talisman in the preparation stage. And now, this voice appeared in Naoki's ears again. And the source is exactly in the tents in front of you. Everyone, stand back and get behind me. The group of ninjas who followed Orochimaru on the mission were all Chunin, ninjas who were not born in the war years. There is also little ability to identify detonating symbols, which are quite common on the battlefield. The sensitivity to the sound of the detonating talisman is really not as sensitive as that of Naoki, who was specially trained by Yusuke to make the sound of the detonating talisman. At the critical moment, Naoki successfully ran in front of all the ninjas. Although he was somewhat unclear about the situation, he still subconsciously chose to listen to Naoki's words. Along the way, Naoki's position has always been in the second position, second only to Orochimaru, which is also a recognition of Naoki's strength. It was precisely because of this recognition that everyone subconsciously believed Naoki's words and quickly stood behind Naoki. Because they had just approached the camp, the formation was still relatively compact, so when Naoki took out the bell sword and placed it in front of him, all the ninjas were already behind Naoki. Zhang Jian was held upright with one hand, trying his best to cover his body and the ninja behind him. At the same time, with the other hand, form the seal with one hand, earth style, earth current wall. Because this ninjutsu is what Yusuke asked Naoki to practice the most. Whether it is the speed of the seals, the speed of the earth flow wall rising, the change in the shape of the earth flow wall, after all kinds of training, Naoki has long become the earth wall grandmaster. In addition, in order to ensure the safety of protection, Naoki directly raised 3 sides at once. But when Naoki finished everything and the earth flow wall was raised halfway, the explosion finally came. It's not because the detonating talisman explodes slowly, it's because Naoki is faster. It was almost the time from the detonating talisman being activated to exploding, and Naoki had already finished it all. Boom! The violent impact, the violent wind, the scorching waves of flames, and the detonating talisman were all blocked in front of Naoki by the earth flow wall and the bell sword. The sword body of Zongjian, which originally seemed a bit bulky, brought an unparalleled sense of security to people at this time. Of course, Orochimaru heard this explosion. After hearing this explosion, Orochimaru couldn't help but feel a thump in his heart. He immediately ran into the camp quickly. Then, he saw Naoki alone, protecting all the ninjas behind him. The only problem is that the earth flow wall is only half raised, and many of Naoki's bodies are still exposed to the explosion range. Hiss, it seems that I still need to practice this earth-style earth flow wall, but why is this explosion so boring? I feel like I can just use my body to resist it. Yusuke, then return the holy relic to me. Silently evaluating his behavior just now, Naoki's eyes were soon covered by a spherical cover that wrapped his body. This thing looks like the shield my brother-in-law mentioned. But Naoki didn't have much time to think about this problem. Now, this place has become a battlefield. Seeing that the explosive charm had no effect, the ninjas hiding in the darkness emerged. Boom! This person was not stabbed to death by Zhang Jian, but knocked unconscious by Zhang Jian. While fighting these people, doubts accumulated in Naoki's mind. Didn't these people eat? Why are the attacks so soft? Because these enemies made Orochimaru worried just now, Orochimaru struck quite hard. And besides Orochimaru, who attracts attention from time to time when he takes action, the second most attractive person is Naoki. There is even a posture that vaguely surpasses Orochimaru. As for the reason, I have never seen a confrontation between ninjas in which they shouldered someone else's win-style great breakthrough and faced off against them. Naoki's current state is that of a warrior who mistakenly entered the assassin's den. The eyes of the assassins must be full of curiosity about this warrior. What's more, this soldier just saved their lives. Soon, all 9 ninjas were eliminated. Orochimaru put the corpses of these sand shinobi into the sealing scroll, and the ninjas he brought chose to surround Naoki. Naoki was still thinking about why the damage he received when those people hit him was actually very limited. Before just now, I had never had an experience like today. Naoki started thinking about everything that happened from yesterday to today. So, naturally, Naoki thought about it, before he left Konoha, before he left the angel's gift. The brother-in-law handed over the bell sword and what appeared to be 2 sets of 5 small objects in total to him. Could it be because of the bell sword and those small objects? Although he had a guess in his mind, when he was just about to test whether the thing Yusuke gave him had any effect, Naoki was suddenly shocked by a circle of people standing around him. Konoha barrier. Among the crowd, someone shouted something. Konoha barrier. Konoha barrier. Konoha barrier. Konoha barrier. After listening to Tsunade's story about Naoki, Yusuke silently repeated the title Naoki received. This title sounds much more powerful than Sanin. Tsunade leaned into Yusuke's arms and saw Yusuke repeating Naoki's title, so he asked, "What do you think Naoki thinks of this title?" He should be very happy now. After all, this title starts with Konoha. Yusuke smiled and didn't answer. In the future, Genin will be called the hero of Konoha. Genin can still be a Hokage. Where is this? But it seems that Naoki at least did not give up on this mission, and it can be regarded as completing one of his small goals. With Tsunade's comfort last time, Yusuke's spirit has relaxed a lot recently. By the way, he asked someone to come back with a message saying thank you for the things you gave him. It seems that Naoki guessed that the holy relic he gave him brought blessings to him. Some people may wonder why Mito would find out if Mito gave him the holy relic, but Naoki still had to guess. Mito is different. Mito adds vitality, and Mito is good at perception. At the same time, because of his old age, the vitality brought by the holy relic is equivalent to putting water into a swimming pool that is about to dry up. The effect is natural and obvious, so Mito can feel it directly. But defense, this thing is different. Unless someone hits you and you find it doesn't hurt, you can only find it in this case. Oops, my defense has gone up. Although Zhang Jian's entry adds life, Naoki is young and his perception ability is not as good as Mito's, so after receiving the weapon, he naturally did not sense it immediately. However, the growth of vitality will still show certain characteristics for young people like Naoki. For example, the hand is so exciting that I can't sleep. Naoki was fine this time, and Naoki's matter was temporarily over, so he decided to ask for some favors from Yusuke. Just a thank you. Since this younger brother can't afford the repayment, then you, the older sister, should repay one. Tsunade glanced at Yusuke angrily and gave her a slight nod on the cheek. Just the cheek. Yusuke wanted to take it a step further, but when he lowered his head, he saw Tsunade's wary eyes. In broad daylight, if the gun went off, the impact would be really bad. But I don't want to endure it anymore. Where are you touching your hands? It's just normal intimate behavior between lovers. That's right, that's it. Naoki has not come back since he last went to the border and performed a mission with Orochimaru. Shortly after the mission led by Orochimaru at that time, Sunagaku began a large-scale withdrawal of troops from the border. As for the reason, it was because Hanzo of Rain Shinobi Village, after his last surprise attack on the Kingdom of Iron, this time he attacked the Kingdom of Wind as if he was suffering from hyperthyroidism. He had a fight with Sunagaku Chiyo and went home directly. Yusuke even knew that the two had nicknames for each other. Chiyo calls Hanzo the old man with the snorkel, and Hanzo calls Chiyo the puppet old woman. This is a bad name, with a clear stupidity that wants to talk trash but can't. Danzo's raid on the Kingdom of Wind has attracted the attention of third generation. Who knows if Hanzo will fall ill again and led a team to raid the Fire Country. Therefore, third generation entrusted Tsukumo to take charge of Kawa no Kuni. It is a small country between the Kingdom of Fire and the Kingdom of Wind. The reason why Tsukumo is stationed here is to prevent the Kingdom of Wind from attacking the Kingdom of Fire. After all, almost everyone knows that the Kingdom of Wind is very hungry for the various resources of the Kingdom of Fire because of the vast deserts within its borders. Tsukumo went to watch the Land of Wind, and Orochimaru was transferred to the border of Rain Shinobi Village and the Land of Fire. This arrangement seems reasonable at first glance. After all, in the third generation project, or in the eyes of the world now, no matter how powerful Hanzo of the Salamander is in the Land of Rain, he is still a person. Rain Shinobi Village is just a small shinobi village after all. So, just let Orochimaru lead someone to watch. The Kingdom of Wind, like the Kingdom of Fire, is one of the 5 major kingdoms, so it is quite reasonable to send Hatake Tsukumo, a being with stronger force than the 3 Orochimaru 3, to guard it. In this way, Orochimaru was pulled directly to the border of the Land of Rain. However, when Orochimaru left, Naoki did not choose to go with Orochimaru, but chose to stay in Kawa no Kuni, changed his identity, and began to work under Tsukumo. These are actually fine, but there is one thing that makes Yusuke very depressed. That was Tsunade, who went to the border of Rain Country with Jiraiya. Jiraiya is not important, what is important is that Tsunade is gone. I'm not just a ninja, I'm a doctor. This sentence left Yusuke with no words to refute, even though he was not prepared to refute it at first. This is what Tsunade wants to do, why should he stop it? I support your choice, but you must also promise me that if you encounter a difficult solution in the Rain Shinobi battlefield, such as water incarnations that are annoying, it might be useful to find me, a sentient ninja. After Tsunade agreed, he went to the front line of the Rain Country. Almost everyone who had to leave had left, and the task of taking care of the children finally fell on Yusuke himself. In fact, Might Dai is still there, but he has always let Might Dai take care of the child. Yusuke is afraid that the child will become disabled. I seem to occasionally feel that Jiraiya is also important in some aspects. Time, when you walk through it, may feel that it goes very slowly, but when you look back, you will find that it actually goes quite fast. Just like that, winter came and went. With the arrival of spring, the trajectory of fate is quietly turning. Some things must come sooner or later. For example, death. At the beginning, we started filming a little late. At Tuya Yushi Recording Studio, Yusuke is practicing the latest song with Yakushi Nanoyu. People who release songs are called foolish people, so the name of the recording studio, A Winter Night Fool's Play, was naturally chosen by Yusuke. Orochimaru has been away from Konoha recently, so the operation of this recording studio has been completely handed over to Yusuke. If it weren't for Barbara's special talent for idols and Shinyan's special talent for music and musical instruments, this recording studio would have been shut down long ago. Please slow down a little and let's do it again. Yakushi took a deep breath, became quiet again, and nodded to Yusuke. Yakushi Nanoyu's singing started again, but Yusuke was somewhat absent-minded. Actually, today, I didn't plan to come here to record new songs. Ever since I was seen by Minato when I was free to practice marksmanship, Minato has become very interested in pole weapons. There are very few people like Naoki who use knives, and even less people who use long-handled weapons. If the child is interested, he can teach it, so what Minato has been training the most with him recently is marksmanship and dust convolution. Today, he was supposed to continue practicing marksmanship with Minato, but strangely, Kushina was nowhere to be seen today, so Yusuke gave Minato a day off. What makes Yusuke distracted is precisely because Kushina is missing. Tomorrow it will rain. You asked with a smile, will it rain tomorrow? Chika Chika Hikaru, the light of wisdom is shining. Must stare before the future changes. Quote. Dong dong. The sound of knocking on the door directly interrupted Yusuke, and Yakushi Nanoyu, who was singing, obviously didn't realize it. Stop for a moment, someone is coming. After just 2 verses of the climax, Yusuke cut off the music and said to Yakushi Nanoyu inside the glass. Yakushi Nanoyu nodded to show that he understood. The song I'm recording now is Live Up to the Shower Rain, which is the one jokingly called the Happy Song of 5 Shadows. It's being recorded now, but of course it hasn't been released yet, so it's considered a trade secret. Of course, it can't be sung casually in the presence of outsiders. When he opened the door, the person outside was what Yusuke had expected. Anbu. Yusuke Mikami, Master Hokage is looking for you. Okay, I get it. Putting the score on the table, Yusuke turned to Yakushi and said, then go down and practice by yourself, and try to record this song as soon as possible. Yusuke was ready to leave, but Anbu stood at the door without making any movement. Are you recording new songs? Yusuke didn't answer, because after Anbu said this, Yusuke guessed why Anbu stood still. After all, following Anbu's line of sight, he saw Yakushi Nanoyu in the recording studio. Brother Yusuke, can you ask Nanoyu to sign an autograph for me? Well, the title has changed, he is indeed a star-chasing boy. I asked you to sign. Do you want to sign? Sure. Yakushi came out of the recording studio and replied with a smile. Watching Yakushi Nanoyu sign an autograph for Anbu, Yusuke was also very pleased. They all say that they are now taking care of children. To be honest, taking care of an adult like Yakushi Nanoyu feels like taking care of a child. At the beginning, the smile was forced and hypocritical, but now the smile is becoming more and more solid and real. You make a lot of money, you don't have much to do, and you can still sing. Wouldn't staying here be better than working under Danzo? This means that Danzo, who is between himself and others, and Yakushi Nanoyu, has less and less influence. Now Yakushi Nanoyu's fans can be said to be almost all over Konoha. Among them, the one who impressed Yusuke the most was Hyuga Hiyashi. It's not because the other party's daughter will be the heroine in the future, it's just. This guy is now the president of the Konoha Yakushi no Support Club. This support club was established even after the first song, Blue Bird, was released. Let's just say, is it really okay for the young patriarch of a big family to be like this? Practice the song by yourself, and then I'll leave. Patting Anbu on the shoulder, Anbu was originally leading Yusuke away, but now it seems like Yusuke is coaxing Anbu to leave. Every time Anbu took someone to see Hokage, it was always silent. Yusuke's style of painting is really different. Anbu kept pulling Yusuke to ask questions, starting from the blue bird at the beginning, to the time when he was recording the rain shower just now. Asked about the concert from Yakushi no. That's right, a concert. Will the fools hold a show for No's office in the future? As for the concert, of course there are plans. Anyway, it's Anbu, and it's not Danzo's route. Yusuke certainly won't miss this opportunity to hurt Danzo. But it seems that Hokage assistant Danzo-sama does not allow it. What a pity. By the way, why won't Master Danzo allow public performances? I saw a lot of public performances a while ago. Listening to Anbu's complaints, Yusuke said that it was really hard to hold back his laughter. Danzo doesn't want Yakushi Nanoyu to perform in public because no matter what Yakushi Nanoyu says, they are still his private soldiers and precious intelligence personnel. The most taboo thing for intelligence officers is to appear in public. As for the reason Danzo used to tease Yusuke, it was because the songs Yakushi sang were not suitable for public performances. In any case, Yusuke didn't say it was because of that reason, and let others guess for themselves. Danzo would be disgusted anyway. Yusuke didn't ask what Anbu was taking him to, and just walked along. Anbu took Yusuke to the destination of the trip. The destination is not the Hokage office in the Hokage building, but the Senju clan land. And it's Mito's residence. Apart from the difference in season, the only difference from the last time I came here is that this time, there are many more sealing techniques on the outside. Anbu made a gesture of invitation. Yusuke nodded, opened the door, and let the sunlight enter the room. Divination has already told Yusuke what will happen today. Yusuke didn't know what expression he should show. The sunlight in the room was not strong, and Yusuke's expression quickly calmed down. Sad. In the world of Hokage, there are constant wars and disputes. There are many people who die at a young age. Death of natural old age can be said to be a luxury. For Mito, an ending like death can even be said to be a good thing in a sense. It's a relief from the responsibility that comes as a Jinchuriki. It is the liberation of the purpose of meeting the first generation who passed away earlier than myself. Not only himself, Mito also foresees his own death. Yusuke raised his feet, crossed the low threshold, and walked into the house. There were 6 people in the room. Mito, Kushina sitting on the bed. In addition, third generation Sarutobi Hiruzen, Hokage assistant Danzo, elders Udatane Kaharu, Mitokado Homura. Kushina lay beside Mito's window and cried non-stop. Mito touched Kushina's head tenderly and whispered something to Kushina. Mito just glanced at it and went back to dealing with Kushina, who was crying by the bed. Yusuke saw this, thought about it, and finally chose to side with third generation. A little closer to Mito than third generation. After walking just a short distance to this position, Yusuke even heard Danzo snort slightly. Third generation didn't say anything at all. What are you Danzo dancing for? Mito persuaded Kushina for a while, and Kushina seemed tired of crying and finally stopped crying. He was still stroking Kushina's head, but his voice was no longer as gentle as when he comforted Kushina just now. Come closer. Mito's voice was stern. Or Majesty. A woman who has come from the Sengoku era to the present, and is also the First Lady of the ninja world. The gentle appearance is hers, and the majesty at this moment is also hers. Yusuke followed third generation and the others and took a few steps forward. When they were still a few steps away from the bed, everyone stopped. Yusuke, come closer. There were 5 people in a row, but Mito waved to Yusuke, who stood beside her bed. I will help Kushina build the seal of 9 tails, and I will use my last strength to help Kushina strengthen the seal. Within 5 years, there will be no problems with the seal of 9 tails. After 5 years, the seal of 9 tails will transform to the level of a regular seal. I hope that in the next 5 years, Kushina can live a normal child's life. Kushina graduated from the ninja school at the age of 12. During this period, Mito would most likely have passed away long ago. As a result, after graduation, Kushina was taken away by Cloud Shinobi spies. What Mito said just now can be regarded as an answer to this question. However, these are minor details. What matters is how these 4 people in the third generation project will answer. At this time, Mito also finished describing his request, and asked the 4 of them as if giving an ultimatum, do you agree to my proposal? The 4 people headed by third generation first gave a very obvious pause and bowed their upper bodies slightly. After a short while, the 3 of them nodded in unison. Promise. Then let Yusuke be the witness and supervisor of this matter, no problem. The third generation project and others have realized that at this time, they have no possibility of refusing. No problem. This time it was changed, and only third generation, the leader of the 4-member group, answered. How many of you are there? We also agreed. Panic appeared on the faces of the remaining 3 danzos, who hurriedly answered Mito's questions. Mito looked at Yusuke, but Yusuke's eyes were not on him, but on the 4 third-generation members. At the same time, Yusuke's voice sounded like a bell in everyone's ears. The contract has been made. Anyone who breaks his promise shall be punished by eating rocks. Following the sound, Yusuke's eyes also emitted a faint golden light. But because it was daytime and the bandages were covering it, no one noticed. Some people may not take Yusuke's words seriously, but Yusuke knows that when they really cross the line, he will let them know what the punishment of eating rocks is. Thank you. The smile on Mito's face returned, and the hand stroking Kushina's head stopped abruptly. Okay, it's time to get down to business. Yusuke took over as a witness, and Yusuke just said, the contract is completed, and anyone who breaks his promise shall be punished by eating rocks. In front of everyone, a fire lit up on each of Mito's fingers. In the center of the palm, there is a small ball with fluidity. Mito put his hand on his belly, pressed it down, and then gently pulled it out. At this time, Mito's hand had an orange ball of light. A violent aura came from the orange-red ball of light. Yusuke recognized it. This should be 9 tails. Outside the ball of light, the golden ball of light that was originally in the palm of the hand turned into a circle of golden chains, tightly binding the ball of light and isolating a considerable part of it. Kushina's tears welled up again. She obviously already knew what would happen to Mito after she accepted 9 tails. But Mito had no time to wipe Kushina's tears now. He held the hand of the light ball and pushed the light ball into Kushina's belly. When the light ball completely disappeared from Kushina's belly, Kushina no longer had much consciousness. This wasn't the end yet. Mito started to form seals with his hands, but something strange was that Mito seemed to be holding something in his hands. I will use the things you gave me as your betrothal gift. At this time, Yusuke saw clearly what Mito was holding. As expected of Mito, is this directly involving the holy relics in the sealing process? Why the Uzumaki clan is naturally the best container for tailed beasts is inseparable from their huge vitality, chakra. The things in Mito's hands were the few holy relics that he had given to Mito before, and they were just the few holy relics with added vitality. Put your hand on Kushina's belly again, lines will appear, and the seal will be completed. After doing all this, Mito's body was no longer sitting, but lying on the bed. The wrinkled old hand stroked Kushina's hair for the last time. But at this time, Kushina had fallen into a coma. Tsunade is on the front line. She didn't get to see me for the last time. She will probably cry for a long time. The last sentence was Mito's sigh. The voice was very small and weak, but Yusuke, who was close, heard it clearly. Kushina is by his side at this time, and Nawaki is moving forward for his future. Therefore, the person Mito was most concerned about at this time became Tsunade. Mito retracted his arms from Kushina's red hair and crossed his hands on his stomach. I will see you for the last time. Yusuke also replied very quietly. Yusuke didn't know whether Mito heard it, but as Yusuke's voice disappeared, Mito's body, or corpse, begins to become stiff and lose temperature. The third generation and others wanted to step forward, but Yusuke's body directly blocked the four people's path. The next thing is the matters within the Senju clan. Please leave the Senju clan. The current situation, I believe you can see, is not very suitable for receiving guests. Everyone's expressions began to become uncertain because of Yusuke's words. In other words, cloudy and uncertain. But in the end, everyone shook their sleeves and left the house, which had become quiet. As soon as he arrived in this world, the Scarlet Three Tomo Sharingan saw the coffins of his original parents. Originally, I was not very familiar with the funeral culture of the ninja world, but I have long been able to handle these things with ease. Buried. Wait a little longer, there are still people who haven't come back yet. Good. The worker obviously knew who was in the coffin now, so he took the initiative to retreat to the side without too much urging. There was no way to arrive at the wake, and there was no way to postpone the wake, so the formal funeral had to wait for those two people. Until the sun passed due south, the people Yusuke was waiting for finally arrived. Tsunade and Naoki both looked dusty and walked towards Yusuke as fast as they could. After, Tsunade knelt in front of the grave and cried until she lost her voice. It wasn't raining, the sun was high and warm, but at this moment Yusuke wanted to hold an umbrella for Tsunade. Naoki stood next to Yusuke. Yusuke did not lower his head to look, but he also guessed Naoki's expression. At this time, he may have become more determined to restore the glory of the Senju family. Although Tsunade was crying so hard, he did not stop the burial. Yusuke took her into his arms and patted her gently in a rhythmic manner. Do you think this is the last time I see my grandma? The coffin fell completely into the dug pit, and Tsunade's hoarse, weak voice reached Yusuke's ears. So be it. Even though this is more of a psychological comfort, this psychological comfort is still necessary. Go home. Good. After arriving at the Senju tribe's land, the funeral was not over yet. After setting up Mito's memorial tablet and waiting for all the funeral attendees to arrive, Shangdian return needs to be performed, that is, giving a return gift to everyone who gave a white envelope. After Yusuke sent everyone away, he dragged his body back to Mito's room. Brother-in-law, I'm sorry to bother you. Naoki was standing at the door, as if waiting for Yusuke to come in. No trouble. Yusuke walked to the table and poured 2 glasses of water. Come here and rest for a while. He is much calmer and no longer looks like the first male lead in a conventional hot-blooded comic. Instead, he has the potential to develop into the second male lead, or perhaps the first male lead in the future. Brother-in-law, I want to become stronger. What's the reason for becoming stronger? The scarier thing than death is that there will always be people who want to cross this impermissible line. They believe that only by breaking taboos can they gain the power to break the common sense of life and death, so that they can see people they can no longer see again. Commonly known as blackening. Yes, it's you, Obito. Why did Yusuke ask for a reason? He was afraid that Naoki would go astray. I want to restore the glory of the Senju clan. Naoki's eyes were full of determination. I can use the heart armor and the great cleansing. What? The first sentence is relief, the second sentence is surprise. Mito's identity is not only Nine Tails Jinchuriki, but also the wife of the first generation. For Naoki, she is also the last pillar of the Senju clan. But now that the pillar is gone, what Naoki wants to do is take over the responsibility of being the pillar. As for Tsunade, Tsunade is still too young, and Naoki doesn't want to see his sister support the Senju clan alone. This is Naoki's reason. I originally wanted to teach Naoki the skills of these 2 maids, but in the end because the results were not good, I had to cancel the teaching of these 2 skills. I figured it out myself by studying the shield brought by Zhang Jian. After all, Naoki had studied with Orochimaru, a genius scientist, and he still had some research ability. I took a long vacation this time, so I hope you can teach me for a while, brother-in-law. Naoki stood up and bowed, very low. He knew that his brother-in-law had strength, but he never showed it and liked to hide his weakness. Naoki knew that he had nothing and could only use his utmost sincerity in exchange for Yusuke's help. Okay, I promise you. Without letting Naoki wait too long, Yusuke gave his answer. Thank you, brother-in-law. But, Naoki originally thought that Yusuke would make some conditions, but Yusuke's words made Naoki scratch his head in embarrassment. What you have to do now is go back to your bedroom, have a good rest, and then come find me at Angel's Gift tomorrow. Yes, Naoki nodded excitedly and ran out of the room impatiently. After Naoki left, Yusuke entered the bedroom. Tsunade was lying on the bed and fell asleep. He quietly walked to the bedside and looked at Tsunade's struggling sleeping face, feeling an inexplicable blockage in his heart. That's all, good people will do it to the end. Hutao's ability has an effect similar to spirit arresting, which is why there is a cute white ghost in Hutao's standby animation. Therefore, when Mito dies, he can detain Mito's soul. But it's not necessary. Death is destiny. Born at the moment of life, died at the moment of death. Mito, who has lived for so long, knows this truth well. So she wouldn't let herself do it. After all, in the Pure Land, the first generation is still waiting for her. But this doesn't mean that Yusuke has no other options. Looking at Tsunade's red eyes, Yusuke whispered to himself, "Let me help you fulfill your wish that you too can't fulfill." After saying that, Yusuke stood up, looked at Tsunade who was sleeping soundly, and clasped his hands together. The seal of the past. The boundary between life and death, the junction between this shore and the other shore. Dark. I should be asleep, why do I still feel that there is darkness in front of me? Butterfly. In the darkness, a little red suddenly appeared, as bright as the flame of a match. As the only light in the dark environment, Tsunade subconsciously wanted to reach out and catch this butterfly. As if passing through a barrier, the world in front of Tsunade was turned upside down in an instant. Very strange. He was standing on a huge stone platform. In the center of the stone platform, a thick tree was floating quietly. Outside the stone platform, there is a sea of pale yellow clouds that seems to accompany the setting sun. The only thing that was the same as before was the red butterfly in front of me. Every time it flapped its wings, it would leave a little spark behind. The butterfly flew forward, and Tsunade was confused, but finally chose to follow the butterfly's trajectory. Following the butterfly, Tsunade also looked around. In this place, you are not alone, there are many people. Or, as mentioned in the novel, the disembodied translucent ghost. The doubts in Tsunade's heart grew bigger and bigger, so he followed the butterfly all the way to the tree. There, Tsunade saw someone who should be able to explain everything to him. Yusuke. Tsunade specifically used questions. The person in front of me does indeed look exactly like Yusuke. The clothes he was wearing were even black, instead of the usual white, that he wore to attend the funeral today. On his slender white fingers, there were fire butterflies that guided him here. There were no bandages on the eyes, but they were closed, and based on the width of the eyelids, Tsunade could even tell that the Yusuke in front of him had eyeballs in the eye sockets. Dream, illusion. Tsunade felt like his brain was a little overloaded. He simply walked directly to this Yusuke, faced Yusuke who was staring at him motionless, and gave Yusuke a hard squeeze on his waist. Ah, it hurts, it hurts. Yusuke quickly escaped from Tsunade's clutches, took 2 steps at a trot, and rubbed his waist hard. It is said that women are excellent at twisting their flesh, especially their waist, and it seems to be true. Not a dream. Seeing Yusuke acting so real, Tsunade asked Yusuke who was rubbing his waist. It's not a dream or an illusion. Yusuke's tone of reply was a little bit complaining when Tsunade tried to pretend he was an outsider. Then what is going on now, please explain to me. Tsunade raised an eyebrow and asked Yusuke. Don't you feel uncomfortable because you didn't get to see Mito for the last time, so I'm here to take you to meet Mito and help you open up your heart. Is this the Pure Land? People will go to the Pure Land after death. For people in the ninja world, this is common sense with a bit of legend. After all, the Sage of 6 Paths that created the ninja sect ends with the soul returning to the Pure Land. However, Tsunade does agree with the Pure Land thing. After all, the impure world reincarnation technique was invented by her second grandfather, and its effect is to bring people from the Pure Land into the real world. It's not a pure land. This is the boundary between life and death. People who still care about it will stay here temporarily, but people who don't care about it will eventually cross this boundary and reach the pure land. The boundary between life and death. This ability, of course, belongs to Hu Dao, one of the special abilities of Hall Master Hu. As the head of the Death Hall, a funeral institution, Hu Dao's abilities are naturally not just special abilities like barbarous singing, simply giving himself a funeral encyclopedia, a funeral sales encyclopedia, and the like. In fact, the Rebirth Hall is more than just a simple funeral institution. Its original purpose was to clean up the demonic remnants in the original God world and maintain the boundary between life and death. Live at the moment of life and die at the moment of death. This is common sense that cannot be broken. And this boundary between life and death is actually a physical space. Speaking of this space, it is better to use the stardust saved from drawing cards in one breath to fill Hall Master Hu's special ability. The boundary between life and death. Tsunade repeated these words, and combined with what happened today, his eyes became brighter, and the corners of his mouth even began to raise subconsciously. Then you take me here. Your expression tells me that you must be right. Yusuke walked up to Tsunade and spread his arms. Aren't you feeling uncomfortable because you didn't get to see Mito for the last time? I'm here to help you fulfill your wish. Oh, do you like me more? Tsunade didn't know why he thought about punching Yusuke in the chest. When he reacted, he had already punched Yusuke and plunged into Yusuke's arms. Yusuke hugged Tsunade, and Tsunade's voice came from his arms, "Thank you." After hugging for a while, Yusuke said to Tsunade in his arms, Okay, let me take you to meet Grandma Mito. Her soul is still here. Before that, is there anything you want to give me? A grateful kiss." As soon as he finished speaking, Yusuke felt his lips and teeth being pried open. "Mito, didn't you just say you were coming to find me?" Today's young people have old hearts and old minds. After kissing for a while, Tsunade broke away suddenly and even wiped his mouth with his wrist. "Why do I feel like I'm the one who's been eaten dry?" Faced with Yusuke's teasing, Tsunade ignored it because she found something more worthy of her attention: your eyes. Just think of it as giving me a pair of eyes when I get this power. Like the eyes of a blazing flame, there is no white of the eye, only a patch of red. Like the first butterfly, there is a white pattern similar to a flame in the position of the pupil. Is it also true in reality? Yes, but I didn't explain the origin of these eyes, so I chose to cover them with bandages. Yusuke paused, then added, "If you think this is me deceiving you, I apologize to you." Quote, "No, I'm just curious whether the color of the area you covered with the bandage will be different from the rest of the skin color on your face." Tsunade even had a serious look on his face when he said, "I see a lot of people wearing glasses. The temples of the glasses are much whiter than the rest of the face." Not really. Yusuke was speechless for a moment, not wanting to cause Tsunade to have any more weird brain thoughts. Let's go, I'll take you to see Grandma Mito." Yusuke is a little different from Walnut. Walnut supervises the boundary between life and death in Teyvat, but he is in charge of this boundary. Just one word difference, but the difference is between heaven and earth. It is difficult for Hu Dao to find someone in this place, but this is not a difficult thing for him. Tsunade, Yusuke. So when Yusuke and Tsunade arrived in a rather abrupt way, Mito's face was full of shock. Nowadays, Mito is very transparent. He is the kind of person who can see away the chaos of the world and enter the Pure Land at the last moment. And when she saw Tsunade, her body became a little more transparent. It seems that Mito's biggest concern in the world is his two siblings, Tsunade. Grandmother. After Tsunade called out the name, he stood there stupidly. Tears welled up again from his tear ducts that he thought had dried up. Okay, don't cry anymore. She is in her 20s and is about to get married. Mito comforted Tsunade, and there was still time to say a few words to Yusuke. You have a heart. It's just a piece of cake. Shaking his head calmly, Yusuke pointed at Tsunade, indicating that Mito's focus now was on Tsunade. The exchange was brief as Mito also had to deal with Tsunade's emotions. After Tsunade calmed down, the two chatted for a while. They were all very common topics, but at this moment, they seemed extraordinarily warm. The depression in Tsunade's heart began to gradually open up and dissipate. For Tsunade and Mito, this matter has no regrets at this point. Tsunade and Mito, after a solemn farewell, Yusuke sent Tsunade out of the boundary of life and death. In the real world, Tsunade should still be in a sleeping state. Mito's soul is about to fade to the point where it cannot be observed by the naked eye, and he is only one step away from returning to the Pure Land. At this time, Mito suddenly spoke again. I actually still have a question in my mind. Yusuke expressed doubts, and Mito also knew that he was about to enter the Pure Land and there was not much time left, so he directly expressed the questions in his heart. You asked for something that could represent my identity, so I gave you my hair accessory. I am a dead person now, so can you tell me now why you wanted that thing? I am here for the Kingdom of Whirlpool. Just like Mito said, it's now time, and there is really no need to hide it. If I told you at that time that the Kingdom of Whirlpool would be destroyed in a sudden attack, would you believe it? Mito shook his head. The country of Uzumaki relies on Konoha, and Konoha also needs the country of Uzumaki to provide the Uzumaki people as Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, so naturally it will not see the Kingdom of Uzumaki destroyed. Although the Kingdom of Whirlpool is good at sealing techniques, which results in its own limited strength, there is still no problem in delaying Konoha's support. Not to mention that I didn't believe it then, most people still don't believe it now. But it was Yusuke who said this. Mito didn't know why, but he changed from not believing in Yusuke to believing in the fall of the Uzumaki kingdom. What I want to do is to let the Kingdom of Whirlpool escape this disaster. What's your reason for doing this? Yusuke, who had been answering questions fluently before, now fell silent. Reason is always the most difficult question to answer. This question made Yusuke think not only about the Kingdom of Whirlpool itself, but also about what he wanted to do and why he wanted to do it. Let's talk about the Kingdom of Whirlpool first. What did the destruction of the Whirlpool Kingdom bring? This brought about a sharp increase in the level of sealing arts in the three villages of Kurigakure, Cloud Shinobi Village, and Tsushigakure Village, allowing the Jinchuriki in these villages to begin to be used as combat power. Instead of the previous one, it was sealed into a person's body and then used as a self-destruct truck to release a tailed beast on the opponent's position, a nuclear bomb on the battlefield. What about other than that? The Kingdom of Whirlpool was destroyed, and no one in the clan was left alive. Even if he didn't die in the land of Whirlpool, he would end up being displaced in the ninja world, turning into a human-shaped medical kit, leaving the teeth marks on his body that others bit when delivering life force to others. Phosphorus is a living example. She and her mother went into exile in the Grass Ninja Village after the fall of the Whirlpool Kingdom. Both she and her mother have the special gift of being able to transfer their life force to others by letting others bite them. And after that, Xionglu's mother died due to excessive life force being absorbed, and Xionglu himself became an extremely convenient and fast medical kit in the eyes of others. This is not a just war, this is aggression purely for self-interest. As for why he wants to save the Kingdom of Whirlpool, he even wants to do more things. It's because I can do it. Being able to do it does not necessarily mean doing it. Some people can turn a blind eye knowing that a tragedy will happen, even if it does not happen to them. But I cannot accept that a tragedy will happen like this. Hokage is indeed a passionate comic, but countless people in Hokage are always shrouded in tragedy. If your life were a novel, then turning tragedy into comedy would be your main line. And there are two main lines. The other main line is to live a happy world with Tsunade, hehe. It sounds a little silly, but it's not righteous. If you can, it can be understood that you and Tsunade mentioned the clear stupidity in my eyes. After saying this, Yusuke shrugged, and then added, of course, the main reason is that I don't want there to be no family members at Tsunade and I's wedding. But to Mito's ears, this sentence was somewhat of a compliment. Then it's all your fault. With this light word, Mito's figure completely disappeared. But Yusuke could still hear Mito saying it with a smile at the end. Call. Yusuke, who had just returned to the real world from the border between life and death, breathed a sigh of relief. It took no effort to activate Walnut's special talent, mainly because of the pressure he put on himself when he had a heart-to-heart talk with Mito just now. When no one asked me before, although the purpose and reasons I mentioned today were very different, they were not clear. To clarify these contents, you need to put pressure on yourself. Because of this, the proportion of clearness in Yusuke's clear stupidity has increased significantly. After exhaling the breath that was trapped in his heart, Yusuke himself felt a lot more refreshed. When he looked down, he saw Tsunade resting on the bed. After being busy with the funeral for 2 days, Yusuke's fatigue emerged with that breath. After yawning, Yusuke, who was extremely sleepy, climbed onto the bed and lay down next to Tsunade. When Yusuke opened his eyes, he saw an unfamiliar ceiling. After tilting his head and seeing Tsunade's face, his head became clearer and he realized what had just happened. Tsunade's expression also relaxed a lot, and he was now staring at himself. Thank you for what happened today. Which of us can follow whom? It's just a matter of hands. Yusuke put his hand through the gap between the bed and Tsunade's waist, and hugged Tsunade around the waist. Tsunade's expression was slightly resistant, but it was also caused by shyness, and not much. Then show me your eyes. After checking that no one was watching, Yusuke took off the bandage and showed his god's eye in front of Tsunade. I've shown it to Mito, but it's nothing to show to Tsunade. They even performed a color change for Tsunade on the spot. The blue-green eye of the wind attribute, the red eye of the fire attribute, and the golden eye of the rock attribute. The rock attribute was drawn later. It has been half a year since the last inventory, and of course I have accumulated a lot of good stuff. Tsunade looked at it curiously for a while before Yusuke tied the bandage back on. Has the stuff I asked you to mail a while ago arrived? Yusuke found another topic and started chatting with Tsunade. Night comes. Yusuke has returned to his home and is sitting on the bed, fiddling with the astrolabe in his hand. After looking at it for a while, he waved his hand and the astrolabe disappeared. The eyes in the bandage were thoughtful, wondering whether his plan could go ahead. It seems the time is almost up. Unlike Naoki, Tsunade came back from a long vacation with other purposes and left Konoha the next morning. After all, the situation on the front line is not that good. The conflict with Rain Shinobi continues every day, and it is only a matter of time before a fight breaks out. It's okay in Konoha, but in the land of Rain, Rain Shinobi's home field advantage is quite obvious. If any one of Tsunade, Orochimaru, and Jiraiya is absent, the pressure on the other two will increase sharply. Besides Naoki, there is another person. Kushina is here too. Naoki wants to regain his glory. As for Kushina, only when I have the strength can I truly decide my own destiny. Having just experienced Mito's death, it is not just Naoki who has grown up, but Kushina as well. Add in Minato, who is already training with me. It's over, I'm really taking care of my children now. Rubbing his face with his hands, Yusuke accepted the reality with difficulty. Minato's current practice of shooting is the jumping chain gun. Actually it is Yao Yao's normal attack. The main reason is that there is no other way. Minato is not very tall now, and there are not many choices. The only suitable marksmanship in Yusuke's hands is Yao Yao. As for the other choice, Mandrill. Although Mandrill's height has become a joke, Yusuke still really wants a Mandrill. The whole Mandrill is so handsome. First he said, Jingyao Nuo dance, followed by, humph. Boring, useless. But there's nothing we can do if we can't draw Yusuke. But today, when the three of them were called together, Yusuke did not intend to teach martial arts such as marksmanship. I'm going to teach you something new today. Do you know about the chakra test, which tests the properties of chakra? Minato and Kushina have not graduated yet, so they have basically never heard of this knowledge. But Naoki raised his hand, Yusuke nodded, and Naoki began to talk about this knowledge. Use chakra test paper, inject chakra into the chakra test paper. The chakra test paper will detect the changes that can occur in the injected chakra, thereby producing corresponding changes. Fire chakra, the paper will catch fire. Wind chakra, the paper will split from the middle. Thunder chakra, the paper will wrinkle. Water chakra, the paper will be wet. Earth chakra, the paper will shatter. Quote. Without saying whether Naoki was right, Yusuke then asked, then do you know why the wind attribute chakra is detected and the test paper is cut in the middle? Naoki nodded, and then replied, this involves changes in the attributes of chakra. Chakra itself has no attributes. The nature of chakra is determined when a person is born. The function of the test paper is to detect the nature of chakra contained in each person. Only with this property can you use the attribute changes of chakra. For example, the Uchiha clan generally has fire attribute chakra. Fire style ninjutsu is the result of the change of fire attribute chakra. This is a bit long and convoluted, but this is the most widely circulated version in the ninja world. To put it bluntly, you are of the fire attribute. After you practice the transformation of the fire attribute chakra, you can change your non-attribute chakra into the fire attribute chakra, and then roll fire balls. As for why the test paper was cut, it's because the key point of the wind attribute chakra's change is cutting. The test paper is cut from the middle. It is actually the expression of wind attribute cutting. Yusuke nodded, but what he said was not in agreement. That's right, but it's also wrong. Naoki was stunned and went over what he said again, but found no mistakes. Tell me, is there wind now? What Naoki said before made Kushina's head dizzy, but Minato was still thinking about it. It wasn't until Yusuke said, right or wrong, that he came back to his senses. Have. Kushina was the first to answer. So tell me, is the wind cutting you? This time Minato answered first, no. It's spring now, and the spring breeze is just right. The name wind is defined by humans, and the nature of wind is also defined by humans. They are just descriptions of wind. I want to teach you the changes of wind attribute chakra first, the ninja world's version, that is, the cutting version. As for using test strips to test, it's not necessary. Kushina is wind, water, and yin, and Minato is fire, wind, thunder, yin, and yang. Both of these people can change the wind attribute chakra. As for why Orochimaru and Jiraiya were asked to realize the phrase, but it depends on the wind, Kushina, Minato and Naoki took the initiative to explain it. In the final analysis, Minato and Kushina have basically never learned this knowledge and have no foundation. Although Naoki has learned this knowledge, his understanding is not deep. He just directly builds the foundation of his own theory, unlike Orochimaru and others who have long regarded the original theory as common sense. Minato and Kushina soon became obsessed with understanding the changes in the wind attribute chakra. Yusuke took advantage of this opportunity and approached Naoki. Naoki, like Tsunade, does not have the chakra of the wind attribute, so his teaching on wind just now does not mean much to Naoki. What I just said applies to the earth attribute chakra changes as well. Naoki nodded, thoughtfully, and the soil of earth style is not just soil and rocks, it is also part of the definition of earth style. The test paper detects that the soil-based chakra will crack because the soil sheet is loose when taken out. If you ask me, this might be the right thing to do. Naoki looked at Yusuke's hand. There was a chakra test paper there. Yusuke did not pour his own chakra into it and used it, but directly held the test paper in his hand. The hand was stretched out in front of Naoki, and Naoki immediately reached out to take it. Yusuke opened his palm and the test paper fell on Naoki's hand. At this time, the test paper was completely flat, but was shaped into a tight ball by Yusuke's huge hand strength. Like a stone. Just when Naoki was staring at the stone-like ball in his hand, Yusuke's majestic voice passed through Naoki's ears and entered his head. The rocks are made into bones by Liuhei. The stone is bright with jade in the 8 deserts. Guizhong, Ming still does not change his brilliance. Huang Kong can be broken without losing its strength. Quote, these contents are the names of the first 4 zodiac signs of Morax, the rock god among the 7 gods of Tevat, the king of rocks. Translated, its rocks are used by heaven and earth to form the backbone of their own skeletons. The 8 wastelands have become brighter because of the precious jade contained in the stones. Crystal jade, even darkness cannot change its brilliance. Rocks do have indestructible and upright qualities. This is also the definition of rock, but this definition is much broader than the definition of ninja world. If Naoki could understand these and add them to his own ninja system, then Naoki can be regarded as making a special earth style, or the future earth style will all be because of Naoki. The country of Whirlpool, Whirlpool Village. Although Uzushio Village is a ninja village, it does not have multiple families gathered together like Konoha. Here, there is only one family like the Uzumaki clan. The leader of the Uzumaki clan, his identity is similar to the shadow of Uzumaki village. In the clan leader's office, the Uzumaki clan leader stared intently at the man sitting opposite him. The other party suddenly appeared in the village, and then asked for directions along the way. Finally, Anbu discovered him and brought him to him. Who are you? There is nothing about the philosopher that represents his identity. The only distinguishing feature is the bandage covering his eyes. The bandages on the eyes may mean that they have a special pair of eyes that are very distinctive, so they want to cover them up. But to explain it this way, it somewhat means that there is no 300 taels of silver here, so this is just the guess of the Uzumaki clan leader. I wish to speak with you alone. Didn't answer the Uzumaki clan leader's question. Yusuke glanced sideways at the ninja next to him, and then turned to look at the director of Uzushio village sitting opposite him. Ah, no, Uzumaki village, the leader of the Uzumaki clan. Yes, the person who appears in the land of Whirlpool now is none other than Yusuke. You can see that there is a big gap in strength between you and me, so you don't have the right to refuse. Similarly, this also means that I have no intention of playing tricks on you. Yusuke's voice was full of undeniable meaning, and his body began to exude a mountain-like pressure. Drops of sweat began to appear on the forehead of the Uzumaki clan leader. You go out first. Waving his hand to signal Anbu to go out first, the leader of the Uzumaki clan finally gave in. Yes, not only the Uzumaki clan leader, Anbu who stayed in the office was also covered in cold sweat. Even the village director can't carry it, so what should I do? Anbu had already left. The leader of the Uzumaki clan stared at Yusuke and asked, "Now, can you tell me what you are here for?" Yusuke didn't say anything, but moved his hands behind his back. The leader of the Uzumaki clan tensed up subconsciously, fearing that Yusuke would suddenly pull out a weapon from behind. Especially when he saw the thing Yusuke took out, there was a hint of metallic light, which made the Uzumaki leader dig his palm harder. But the other person's hand, holding the thing he took out, put it on the table between the two of them. Do you recognize this thing? Yusuke removed his hand and let the Uzumaki leader observe. A shell-shaped golden hair ornament, and several needle-shaped hair ornaments with talismans. This is. Chief Uzumaki pondered for a while, then suddenly thought of the answer, and immediately answered, "This is the headdress that Master Uzumaki Mito wore when he got married." Yes, at least I'm not blind yet. Yusuke raised his eyebrows and barely gave him a compliment. At the same time, the leader of the Uzumaki clan also began to analyze the meaning of Yusuke's move. Since the other party didn't take action, the other party taking out this thing more meant that he wanted to prove his identity to himself and prove that he was not his enemy. If anything happens, I'll tell you directly. You can understand that I have the ability of divination. This time was indeed divined, otherwise Yusuke would not have come to the kingdom of Whirlpool at this time. Now Konoha left a shadow clone, and he ran here directly with the help of the pocket anchor point. The original rule of pocket anchor points is that there can be at most one on the map at the same time, but this one is different. It is a version that has been enhanced by the system. Only one can exist in a ninja village, and it can be activated remotely. The remote activation point is very important, it is the reason why Yusuke can run here. Among the things I asked Tsunade to mail to the country of Whirlpool, there was an inactive pocket anchor point. When the time calculated by divination was reached, which was today, he activated the pocket anchor and teleported it. According to the divination, tomorrow night, the three great ninja villages of Mist Shinobi, Cloud Shinobi, and Tsushigakure will launch a raid on the kingdom of Uzumaki. The kingdom of Uzumaki will be destroyed in this raid, and no one in the clan will be left alive. As for why I took out Mito's headdress, you can understand that it is my contract with Mito to help the country of Whirlpool survive this crisis. Three kingdoms allied forces. The eyes of the leader of the Uzumaki clan were full of fear. But Yusuke's words were not finished yet. And don't even think about asking for help from Konoha. Let's not say whether Konoha will support you. Facing the Three Kingdoms alliance, you don't have any time to react and you won't be able to withstand the arrival of Konoha's support. The Uzumaki clan members like me are indeed not good at fighting. Just like Yusuke said, there is no way he can survive the arrival of Konoha. If the time predicted by the other party is true, it will be too late to send a message to Konoha now. Thank you for your kindness, but you alone are facing the combined ninja armies of 3 of the 5 major ninja villages. Why don't you listen to my solution first? Sure. After saying that, Yusuke took out a dark brown pot from behind under the puzzled eyes of the Uzumaki clan leader. His big eyes revealed great doubts. Go in and take a look. Go in, have a look, into a pot. Almost subconsciously, the Uzumaki clan leader retorted. you can't get in, no matter how hard you think, you can't get in, right? Forehead. Yusuke felt that the figure of the Uzumaki clan leader in front of him seemed to be combined with a certain white-haired floating spirit. Shaking away the white-haired floating figure in his head, Yusuke didn't say much, just a thought. In the scene in front of Chief Uzumaki, the pot in front of him sucked him and the space he was in like water. This made him close his eyes subconsciously. Open your eyes, Chief Uzumaki, I am Shifulen. Shafran. Chief Uzumaki first realized that he was lying down, and then slowly opened his eyes. What I saw when I opened my eyes was not the ceiling of the office, but the gorgeous starry sky. In his ears, there was the reassuring sound of the lapping tide. But what concerned him the most was the man who called himself Shafran. That is Yusuke. How is this place? It's beautiful. Chief Uzumaki looked at the pirate in front of him with affection in his eyes. This is an island like the country of Whirlpool, but the scenery and climate are undoubtedly much better than the country of Whirlpool. The same goes for Yusuke. Chingchong Island. There are 5 caves in total. Considering that the country of Whirlpool itself is a very small island country, Yusuke specially chose Chingchong Island. In addition to Chingchong Island, the remaining 4 are Luofu Cave, Kwadifeng, Weichting, and Miaoshilan. I don't know. What do you think of this being your temporary base for the next period of time? After looking at the scenery for a while, Yusuke took the Uzumaki clan leader to see the pot spirit. Along the way, I also asked the Uzumaki clan leader for his advice. I can't make up my mind yet. Then the guy I'll take you to meet next should be able to dispel your doubts. Chapter 61. Taking the Uzumaki clan leader all the way to a mansion, Yusuke patted the large blue and white pot at the door. Madoka. Boss. In front of the Uzumaki clan leader, a fat bird came out of the big blue and white pot, holding the lid and occupying the pot. Let me introduce to you. These are the pot spirits of the Chenge pot, the true Lord Baihong Jiyu, Ayuan, and the true Lord Zongui Naki. Adu is not here today. The ninja world has the title of Sage, for example, Jiraiya calls himself Toad Sage. But the title of True Lord does not exist in the ninja world, but this does not prevent the Uzumaki clan leader from understanding the meaning of the word True Lord. I even think that the title True Lord sounds better than Immortal. Yusuke thought so too, and even wanted to give himself the title of so-and-so True Lord. I can't think of anything, so I'd like to ask for your comments. Doghead. Meet the true king. Hello. The other party was so polite, and a yuan returned the favor. Yusuke saw that the first meeting between the two parties was quite harmonious, so he went on to explain to the Uzumaki clan leader. A yuan sells drawings here. As long as you have the drawings and the materials required in the drawings, you can get the finished product directly from the drawings in a certain amount of time. It's not as intuitive as showing it directly with examples. Yusuke took out a scroll. For example, here is a drawing of the Liu residential, dining pine drinking stream. You only need 12 standard units of wood indicated in the drawing, plus 6 standard units of white iron body. You only need to wait for 14 days. In just a few hours, you can get a house like this. Quote, a house in 14 hours. It can be said that with Madoka here, if you enter here, the kingdom of Whirlpool can quickly complete its reconstruction. In fact, this is the ending after the system change. The original version requires 6 copies of each type of wood. However, because the environment of the ninja world is different from that of Teyvat, the system was changed to 12 copies. And what shocked the Uzumaki clan was that there was more. Not only houses, but also furniture and decoration can be manufactured directly. Moreover, you can buy land and seeds. Especially among the seeds, the one called neon flower. The mature neon flower can be directly turned into cloth without spending any time on weaving. All this shocked the Uzumaki clan leader. Amazing. Seeing that the introduction was almost complete, the joy of the Uzumaki clan leader almost overflowed. Yusuke asked the Uzumaki clan leader, now, have you decided to move in? Before that, I have one more question. Chief Uzumaki spoke without any hesitation. But it doesn't matter. Embarrassment appeared on the face of the Uzumaki clan leader, and he scratched his head and replied, you were really too kind to me, which makes me a little scared. PFF'd. You saw it just now. When you buy blueprints and seeds from a yuan, you need to spend Dongtian treasure money. As for Dongtian treasure money, it is actually linked to the prosperity of Dongtian. The more prosperous Dongtian is, the more Dongtian treasure money is produced in Dongtian. The contract between me and Mito is only one aspect. In your opinion, this contract is not enough to support my current actions. If you want peace of mind, you can understand that I am actually a renter. You live in Dongtian and I am responsible for collecting the rent. A simple contract is indeed not enough to convince the Uzumaki clan leader. And with the relationship between the lessor and the tenant, it can be regarded as peace of mind. Peace of mind is really important sometimes. Then on behalf of all the people in the Kingdom of Whirlpool, I would like to thank Lord Shaffron. Well, I just saw someone lying across from me, half awake, so I just thought of making a joke. So now that you really believe it, since the other party thought so, that's all. Yusuke finally accepted the title with a smile. Before the coalition forces arrive tomorrow, move all the tribesmen into the Chensong pot. Move as many supplies as you can. Is that okay? This model of one ninja village per family gives Uzushio village a great advantage over systems like Konoha in terms of unifying opinions. There is no need to even go against all opinions, because the residents of Uzumaki village are convinced by their clan leader. As soon as he and Yusuke came out of the dust song pot, the Uzumaki clan leader began to show off his thunderous skills. First enter some ninjas, carry the tent into the Chensong pot, and start setting up the tent in the Chensong pot. After all, it is a country, and the Kingdom of Whirlpool naturally has a large reserve of tents, which are quite common things on the battlefield. There is no house in Chengge pot now. The only mansion belongs to Yusuke, but in order to avoid suspicion, Yusuke has kept it away. However, Yusuke has already handed over the drawings of the Liu folk house, dining pine drinking stream, to the hands of the Uzumaki clan leader. From tent to complete replacement to house, the follow-up process does not take much time. Chief Uzumaki arranged it very cleverly. In fact, according to the time Yusuke stayed, it was more than enough for the entire Whirlpool Kingdom to enter the Dust Song pot. Therefore, the Uzumaki clan leader directly arranged for people and materials to enter simultaneously. About 1/3 of the ninjas are tasked with leading people to the Chensong pot and organizing people to enter the Chensong pot. As for the remaining 2/3, it's simply scarier than when the Japanese invade the village. All kinds of ready-made materials in the warehouse. Move. Unfinished mine. Meet the ninjas of Earth style directly. Move them all. A considerable number of ninjas were even sent directly to the outer forests. The wood is being cut on site, and depending on the posture, the forest can be cleared in the next half day. This scene made Yusuke's mouth twitch a bit. There is really no one else with this kind of execution ability. Yusuke now really wants to see the expression on the face of the three village coalition forces entering Uzushio village. Every one of them would be shocked by the scene in front of them. Could it be that someone was one step ahead of me and snatched Rain Shinobi village before me? Darkness once again enveloped Uzushio village. Time is up. Following Yusuke's light words, the eyes of the Uzumaki clan leader standing next to Yusuke, who were still a little distracted, suddenly solidified and looked at the abnormal mist rising from the sea. It's time for Yusuke's divination. When he saw the rising fog, the Uzumaki clan leader realized that Yusuke had not lied to him. And the reason why he is still here and has not entered the Chengge pot is just because he wants to see the three village coalition. These were the people who were supposed to bring destruction to the Uzumaki clan. Intentional homicide is illegal, and attempted intentional homicide is also illegal. Although he and the Uzumaki clan managed to escape with the help of Master Shaffron, he knew that this was still a shame brought to him by the three village coalition. Yusuke's hands are folded, and his eyes covered by bandages seem to reflect the light that is ready to burst out from all the character elements. It's not like Konoha didn't put a pocket anchor, so Yusuke can naturally go back to Konoha. But Yusuke was not in a hurry at this time. You can definitely run if you run, so why not practice with these invaders before running? It's like playing cards. You have a good hand, but as a result, one person is called home by his wife. The game ends on the spot, and all the good cards in your hand are ruined in your own hand. I kept holding it in, and it felt uncomfortable. In Yusuke's opinion, practicing with these invaders is a very suitable opportunity for release. Anyway, I can run, and if I really kill the opponent, I won't have much psychological burden. The fog is still spreading. This is not normal fog. It is the characteristic of Kurigakure, the land of water. At the beginning, there is a fog, and then there are combos such as the silent killing technique. At this time, the Uzumaki clan leader still had no intention of entering the Chensong pot. Yusuke asked half-jokingly, "Are you going to watch me do it? I really want to take a look. Then I'll just show you a little bit." As he spoke, Yusuke raised his right hand to his side, and the green wind began to gather on Yusuke's right hand in front of the Uzumaki clan leader. The heart-killing fist began to accumulate strength. Full layer transformation effect. The eye of God under the bandage glowed, strengthening this heart-killing fist again. "Bring it on." Accompanied by a low cry, this heart-killing fist was released. The power of the 5th level Shikanoin Haizu's combat skills at this time is far from the intensity he had when he was sparring with Jiraiya. Generally speaking, there is no need to deliberately upgrade 4-star characters. For example, the level of Shikanoin Haizu is just 6 Haizu. The turquoise wind charged towards the rising fog ahead. The storm blew past, and a circular hole with a diameter of 70 or 80 meters appeared directly in the white mist. In the dark night, there were even countless wailing sounds. Yusuke on his part shook his arm and retracted his arm. But among the coalition forces, following these wailings, they fell into a brief panic. Because of this sudden attack, the ninja who originally released the white mist stopped releasing the ninjutsu, and the white mist quickly began to dissipate. The white fog completely dissipated, and Yusuke looked at the coalition forces very relaxedly. The coalition forces also discovered the 2 people blocking him. Yusuke glanced at the Uzumaki clan leader who was surprised by him, and said with a smile, "Have you seen enough? Let's go in." "Good." Chief Uzumaki nodded blankly and entered the Chensong pot. As soon as he entered the Chenge pot, many people noticed him, came to his side, and started asking questions one by one. "What's going on outside, Patriarch? Are there really coalition forces outside, Patriarch?" "Yes." Chief Uzumaki nodded his heavy head. "Among the 5 great ninja villages, only San Shinobi, the country of wind farthest from us, did not come. In fact, due to distance and the war in Rain Shinobi village, San Shinobi was unable to participate and share the same pot. This is also why Sunagakure's sealing technique was so rubbish later on, especially when Gaara first appeared in the original novel and was in such a crazy state. Purely because the sealing technique is rubbish." The people around the clan leader also began to take a breath because of the clan leader's words, and their emotions began to visibly drop. Okay, from now on this will be the new home of our Uzumaki clan. This is the new home given to us by Lord Shafran. We must repay our savior, Lord Shafran, for his gift. Yes, repay Lord Shafran. Repay Lord Shafran. Repay Lord Shafran, Yusuke from the outside world naturally didn't know what happened in the Chensong pot. He put the Chensong pot away and looked at the coalition forces that were getting closer and closer. After the fog cleared, I saw the coalition forces. 3 of the 5 great ninja villages, and the number of them was not small. It was indeed not a team that a small Uzushio village could resist. In the eyes of the coalition forces, although Yusuke's punch just now was very bluffing, the damage caused was limited. With so many people here, it would be really unreasonable if they couldn't defeat one person. If there is no fog, there will be no fog. The coalition forces do not think that anyone in the country of Whirlpool can stop them, so they choose to move quickly towards Yusuke. Lightning style, ground walk. Fire style, big fire bomb. Earth style, split the earth and turn the palm. Earth style, a great river of earth. Earth style, earth dragon bullet. Water style, water chaos. Water style, water dragon bomb. All kinds of ninjutsus from the 5-color 8-gate were used to kill Yusuke, the only one standing in the way. Various ninjutsu made various noises, and Yusuke's voice was drowned in these movements. Sure as a rock, various ninjutsu brought huge smoke. Jonin, the leader of each of the 3 families, looked at the smoke and silently asked himself in his heart, did it succeed? If the coalition forces had learned the rule of thumb, they would definitely not have asked this question. Unfortunately, they have not learned it. Yusuke had taught Nawaki the importance of vision before. The current situation is that the coalition forces have lost Yusuke's vision, and Yusuke has also lost the opponent's vision. Although he can't see it, Yusuke can feel it. What's more, if the opponent has many people and a big target, why don't you just use a wide range of skills? Here, the verdict is pronounced. The size of the smoke is not small, but its current size still cannot completely cover the sudden appearance of the flame bird. Diluc. The elements explode. Dawn. At this time, the eyes of God in Yusuke's eyes have also turned red. The huge flaming bird emerged from the smoke, exposed its whole body, and attacked the coalition forces. We put a bunch of small skills, and you come up and do it so ruthlessly. This wasn't the end yet. Next to Yusuke, 2 square brown pillars each emitted a golden square wave and headed towards the Ninja Alliance. Zhongli, elemental combat skills, center of the earth. It was precisely because of the Yuzhong shield of Zhongli's elemental combat skill that Yusuke directly ignored the first wave of attacks from the coalition forces. None of the shields were broken because the opponent's damage exceeded the upper limit. Level 4 Zhongli. This is Yusuke's first time using it. In fact, Level 4 was upgraded just a while ago. It's not that there's not enough Xinghui, after all, it's one of the 7 gods. After Yusuke drew it, he thought about maxing it out. As a result, the system only allowed it to be pulled to Level 3. As for how to upgrade to Level 4, before Mito's death, he promised to be a witness and promised Mito. He said the words, "The contract is completed, and those who break their promises shall be punished by eating rocks." After that, Zhongli suddenly rose to Level 4. Yusuke's Dawn was placed directly in front of him, and this position happened to be the position occupied by Kurigakure, the leader of the coalition forces. Defense. Defend quickly. Water style. Water barrier. Layer by layer, the water barriers blend together to form a water barrier wall. Water style originally restrained fire style. Although the Firebird looked really bluffing, it still gave them confidence in the water barrier that had many people joining forces. What's the matter with you, bird? Since you have passed through the water barrier, you can still explain that the Firebird is an illusion. But why can it actually cause harm when it hits us? If they knew there was such a thing as Kamui, they would definitely think that this Firebird knew Kamui. In fact, the Firebird summoned by Dawn just flies forward. If someone blocks it, it will continue flying directly with the person. After flying for a certain distance, it will soar into the sky and then disappear between heaven and earth. Fortunately, the water barrier did reduce Dawn's power a bit. In addition, these ninjas who used defensive ninjutsu had been blocking Dawn with their bodies, so that the whole army was not completely annihilated. The threat from Suigakure's side was temporarily lifted, but after seeing Rock Shinobi's released skills, Yusuke wanted to die laughing. Earth style, Earth flow wall. Earth style, Earth shore return. Earthen walls rose up one after another, and their target was not just Dawn. After all, Dawn's main attack target was not them. Therefore, the main purpose of these earth walls is to defend against the fluctuations coming along the ground. As for why Yusuke wants to laugh, it still has to do with the effect of the center of the earth. The center of the earth will summon rock ridges, just like the 2 pillars beside Yusuke. The role of these pillars is not only to block the first wave of ninjutsu. While the rock ridge exists, it will intermittently resonate with other surrounding rock element creations, causing rock element damage to surrounding enemies. As for the effect, it is the same fluctuation as the rock ridge effect. Most of the people who release Earth style are Iwagakure, after all, they are most familiar with Earth style. Originally, what they suffered was that the 2 pillars, whose power had been reduced due to distance, resonated with each other. But the effect of these earth walls rising is, the earth wall also began to emit waves. It was originally attenuated, but now it is directly in contact with the resonance fluctuations. The only thing that makes the Iwagakure ninja feel relieved is that the power of this wave is actually not too high. People like myself are at least much better than Kurigakure, who is holding the Firebird in the middle. Yusuke was not in a hurry to continue attacking. Since the opponent did not fight back after talking about practicing, then the practice was meaningless. The Firebird completely dissipated, and Rock Shinobi realized the problem and smashed all the earth walls he had raised. Seeing that Yusuke did not continue the attack, a person who should be the leader walked out of the crowd and shouted to Yusuke, "Who are you?" Looking down at the coalition forces, Yusuke suddenly understood Madara in the 4th battle. Although there are thousands of troops and horses, my face does not change. Fear, non-existent. Summer just pride rising from the bottom of my heart. Almost subconsciously, Yusuke shouted, "Do you want to dance too?" Ahem. Yusuke coughed lightly, suppressed the embarrassment caused by what he just said, cleared his throat, and called out the name he had prepared in advance to the coalition forces below. Arataki faction, righteous people. Of all the skills just now, Dawn gave Yusuke the best feeling, so Yusuke directly added the name of a righteous person. After hearing the name, the leader frowned slightly. Arataki faction, an organization I have never heard of. But there is such a strong man in this organization, and he is unknown. It is difficult not to make people doubt the purpose of this organization that lurked and now appears again. In addition, the name Justice, which sounded like a code name or a fake name, also made the leader very angry. Originally, because the other party was very strong, he had been beaten and couldn't fight back, but now he is angry again, and in the end, you said that you are called a righteous person. You are a righteous person, so who are we? Evil person. Yusuke. I didn't say anything, you said it yourself. From the beginning, Yusuke had no intention of using a polearm character. Zhongli just used a skill and didn't use normal attacks. Mainly because of the entire ninja world, only myself and Minato knew how to use guns, so it was too easy to be exposed. It seems that it is still necessary for weapons like guns to be promoted. For a coalition like this, the leader is an elite jonin from each country, leading a few jonin, and the rest, that is, most of the members are actually chunin. After all, in the eyes of these people, the kingdom of Whirlpool is a big fat sheep. It is not very strong and still occupies coveted sealing arts resources. To deal with the kingdom of Whirlpool, such a team is enough. How can we let us pass? It is true that the person taking the lead is angry, but it is impossible to get past this righteous man. Let's talk first. If the other party is just passing by, or accepts employment from the country of Whirlpool, we can negotiate. Do you want to fight or not? If not, I will leave. Mist Shinobi, who took the lead, or rather all the ninjas in the coalition, were a little confused. If you had told me not to fight you, you would have just left. Why have we been here so long? We won't fight, we won't fight. Rain Shinobi waved his hand directly. Yusuke saw this and replied directly, if you don't fight, I'm leaving. The next second, Yusuke's figure disappeared. Really gone. Mist Shinobi, who took the lead, looked at Galpo without Yusuke and felt that there was a sadly thick barrier between himself and reality. What is this? Enter the village. But the other party had already left, so Mist Shinobi, the leader, directly gave the order to enter the Uzushio village. No one. There are no supplies in the warehouse. I couldn't find anything related to the sealing technique. All the trees around Uzushio village have been cut down, and all that's left are these houses. Listening to each of the similar reports, Jonin and Elite Jonin, who took the lead, felt that the fire of ignorant karma was burning crazily in their hearts. Entering Uzumaki village is entering Uzumaki village, but you look worse than if you were robbed by us. What's going on? At least we won't cut down all the quilts from every household and take away all the trees outside the village, right? And he's not alone. When the last team came back, no one was found in all reports. Above these people, Yusuke was floating quietly in the air, with the green light wheel behind him emitting a faint light. The heavens are moving. It's time to attack. Truth comes around again and again. Destiny is revealed here. Put your head down. Yusuke, whose body was covered with holy relics, took a deep breath and said faintly, it's still fun to hit nuclear explosions. Have you heard that the kingdom of Whirlpool was destroyed? A gift from an angel. Several people gathered around a table, drinking wine. One of them suddenly leaned forward and spoke mysteriously to the others at the same table. Yusuke also became a little interested, his ears moved slightly, and he began to listen to the exchanges between these people. In his mind, he also thought about what he did in the end. The last combo I used. Zhongli's elemental explosion, Tian Sheng. This skill is the meteor falling from the sky. In addition to being smashed, all enemies within the range of the star will be petrified for a period of time. After that comes the regular nuclear explosion combo. Bennett's ultimate move increases attack power, Mona's elemental burst purely increases damage, and Mona's dragon attack increases attack power. In addition, there is also the full level, which is the 6 life effect of full life FA Lucian. Enemies in the state of FA Lucian's ultimate move will have their critical hit damage increased by 40% when dealing wind element damage. In addition, characters protected by Zhongli Yuzhong's shield will reduce all elemental resistances of enemies in a small nearby area by 20%. Reduce the opponent's resistance and increase your own attack power, damage, and critical hit rate. Conventional nuclear explosion process. No, it doesn't seem to be very routine. After all, there are only 4 people in a team in the game, and I have 4 assists. It's a bit overkill to be honest. But I can be considered as completing my original intention of testing my own damage. Yusuke also succeeded in realizing something. That's the importance of control skills. This is why at the beginning, Zhongli's Tianxing was used first. As I said before, one of the major problems of ninjas is that they have high attack and low defense, and their defense methods are very limited. This is equivalent to a shooter with level 18 attack power, but only level 1 HP and level 1 defense attributes. He may kite you to death, or kill you instantly. But as long as you have a control skill and a little bit of attack power, the shooter will have nothing to do and will be dead when he sees you. Yusuke's recollection only lasted for a moment, and it did not affect listening to these people discussing the Kingdom of Whirlpool. Although it is a neighboring country and a neighboring country with which it is related has been destroyed, it is not a good thing, but it is a topic of conversation in the tavern, and there are still some ninjas present, so to be honest, there is no problem. I heard that it was Kurigakure who, along with Rock Shinobi and Cloud Shinobi, launched a sneak attack on the country of Whirlpool. A person at the same table obviously knew a little bit about these things and told the version he heard. Real or fake, no matter how the Kingdom of Whirlpool says it has a good relationship with us, is it really okay for these 3 ninja villages to do this? Seeking justice for the Kingdom of Whirlpool. The person who initiated this topic shook his head with an attitude of, I am an expert, after hearing the discussion. Seeing this, everyone's curiosity was suddenly aroused. It is said that the 3 ninja villages did plan to attack the country of Whirlpool. Guess what happened? What's wrong? As soon as they reached the coast of the country of Whirlpool, the 3-village coalition met a man and blocked their way. Real or fake? Stop the coalition forces alone. The person in charge of the explanation did not say anything more about these few questions in a low voice, and continued his explanation. The person who stopped the coalition forces calls himself the Arataki sect, a righteous man. This righteous man first spit out a giant flame bird from his mouth and beat the ninjas of Kurigakure and Cloud Shinobi to pieces. Stomping his feet again, golden waves appeared from under his feet, and the earth current wall they released could also release the same golden waves. So smart. Those who were fascinated by the words all exclaimed in surprise. One man fought against the 3 kingdoms' allied forces and prevented the 3 kingdoms' allied forces from attacking his own small affiliated country. Everyone's blood boiled when he heard this. Only Yusuke scratched his head in embarrassment. The Firebird at dawn was launched with a big sword, and he was shrouded in smoke at the time, so it was even more impossible for these people to see him. As for stamping your feet and emitting rock elemental resonance. Tired? Destroy it. Spread love however you want. This is not over yet. It is said that this righteous man asked the coalition forces if they wanted to fight. If they didn't, he left. However, the coalition forces said they would not fight, and the man really left. He was scorning the coalition forces a second ago, but then he just left. This is not over yet. When the coalition forces entered Uzumaki village, they found that Uzumaki village had become a ghost town with no people and no resources. Just when they were about to retreat, this righteous man came back. He summoned meteorites, the starry sky, flames, and finally used huge winds to kill many people in the coalition. Wheaty, so scary. The last paragraph was full of cadence, causing everyone present to scream. Where did you get this news? One of them asked proactively. The storyteller didn't hide it, and directly revealed the source of the news. It was sent by the 3 major countries at the same time, asking the ninja world to pay attention to the notice from the Arataki sect. Harmful. The people gathered around who were listening with rapt attention suddenly lost half of their interest when they heard such a sentence again. This kind of information is caused by the information gap in conventional channels, not the more exciting, grapevine news. The 3 major countries issued a statement, which means that someone escaped from their own wave of nuclear explosions. Passed his message back to various countries. Yusuke didn't care too much about this news. The bunch of skills I threw at the beginning mainly attacked a circle. Standing on the edge, it is really possible to survive. There is no need to kill everyone, and it is not a big deal to pass on the news of his fake identity, so Yusuke doesn't think it is a big deal. I really have some tidbits. Tell me more, tell me more. It is said that this righteous man from the Arataki faction killed them after shouting about friendship, bonding, youth and so on. This sentence directly makes the discussion a step further. It was this man who spoke this passage in a mellow tone, like a storyteller. Yusuke felt that his desire to cough was about to explode. When did I call me friendship, bond, youth, and other middle-class words? You just pass on the news. Why is this kind of thing still spreading? Another one that spits firebirds from its mouth and resonates with its feet. Actually, it wasn't just Konoha. In every village, large and small, in the entire ninja world, discussing the affairs of the country of Whirlpool has become the most common topic. Even the underground of Canopy Bridge. Arataki faction. The old man with a scarlet Sharingan slowly read out these 3 words. It is almost the same as the little black man in Conan, except that he has a little more hair. He stands next to the old man and continues to tell the information he has obtained. There are many versions of the ninja world in front of us, but this righteous man from the Arataki faction should have indeed blocked the coalition forces and has the ability to deal with all the coalition forces. Speaking of Canopy Bridge, the identities of these 2 people can actually be basically determined. Uchiha Madara, and the protagonist of Black Zetsu saves her mother, the strongest 6th among Hokage ninjas, Black Zetsu. Everyone in the ninja world believes that Uchiha Madara died in the battle between the Valley of the End and first Hokage, Senju Hashirama. Of course, the fact that he appears here now means that he did not die at that time. He just activated Sharingan's secret technique at the cost of losing his sight in one eye, and Izanagi survived. Not only did he not die, he even managed to obtain a piece of Senju Hashirama's flesh and blood. Although he accomplished his goal, time is ruthless and he is really old now. He was dormant at Canopy Bridge, preparing for his plan. Arataki faction, righteous people. And the sudden appearance of such a person, whom few living people have actually seen, made Uchiha cheer up again. There are actually many organizations and associations in the ninja world. But Uchiha Madara has never heard of the organization called the Arataki sect. And he is also an Arataki sect with masters. This is simply better than hiding it yourself. Is there anyone alive in the kingdom of Whirlpool? Uchiha Madara asked Black Zetsu next to her with thoughtful eyes. There are only corpses of allied ninjas at the scene, a person from the kingdom of Whirlpool, not even a dead person. And based on the conditions at the scene, the people from the kingdom of Whirlpool were not killed, but more like, organized and planned migration. There are not many people in the kingdom of Whirlpool. What this sentence means is, if they really migrate, where can they migrate to? The ninja world is only so big. Even if some special time and space magic can open up a special space, then it can open up a space that can accommodate all the people of Uzushio village. What level will your own strength reach? The very funny conversation I told you before seems to be true now. Black Zetsu refers to the conversation where the righteous man says, fight or not, or leave without fighting. After all, judging from the situation at the scene, it should be the righteous man who ran out and killed the ninjas who had entered Uzushio village, but found that there was nothing in Uzushio village. This is really bad fun. He said that he would not fight for the first time, which made the coalition forces fearful and at the same time felt unreal joy. As a result, I first let you see that there is nothing in Uzushio village, and your hopes are dashed for a while, and then they appear again and are killed by the coalition forces. Madara felt a little disdainful about this matter. Isn't this just toying with people? With this kind of character, you still call yourself a righteous person? Uchiha Madara was lost in thought. Black Zetsu beside Uchiha Madara wanted to sneeze inexplicably. No, I'm Black Zetsu. I'm not a human. I don't even have the urge to urinate. Why would I want to sneeze? In fact, not only the 5 major ninja villages, Uchiha Madara paid great attention to this matter. Rain Country, Rain Shinobi Village, Hanzo. He put all the information in front of him and analyzed what happened in his mind. But from the beginning, his focus was different from most people's. While others were paying attention to the Arataki faction, he was paying attention to the Three Kingdoms allied forces' attack on the Kingdom of Whirlpool, which was the beginning of everything. The country of Whirlpool is a small country, even if it is backed by Konoha. No matter how good the relationship with Konoha is, no matter how close the connection is. As long as his name is not Konoha, he is not a part of Konoha, he is a small independent country. This action against the country of Whirlpool was a shameless invasion launched by the great ninja village for its own benefit. Small countries have no right to speak before big countries. Thinking of these, Hanzo became more and more determined in his inner thoughts. Only by allowing big countries to hand over their land and resources and making the world no longer differentiated between big and small countries can the world be peaceful. So how can we get big countries to hand over their land resources? War. Hanzo's eyes became bright and full of light. By attacking the Kingdom of Iron, he has completed the first step of testing the ninja world. Attacking the Kingdom of Wind completed his first step to test the great power. The country of fire, the country of fire, and the country of earth, these three countries are within the territory of the country of rain, and they have no regard for the civilians of their own country of rain, and ignore the attitude of their own country of rain. And these three countries happen to surround the Kingdom of Rain. You three countries are my first targets. The only thing Hanzo was unsure about was the uninvited guest of the Arataki sect, who played an important role in this matter. But Hanzo felt that he had prepared long enough. Really can't wait any longer. No matter who you are as Arataki faction, no matter who you are as a righteous person or an evil person, I, Hanzo of the Salamander, the demigod of the ninja world, I will definitely achieve the peace I desire. That's right, Hanzo, known as the demigod of the ninja world, is actually a madman who yearns for peace. In the ninja world, there are too many people like Hanzo. Different people in the ninja world have different views on the incident in the country of Whirlpool. Sarutobi Hiruzen quarreled in Danzo. Without the country of Whirlpool, there would be no Jinchuriki support from the Uzumaki clan. After the support of the sealing technique, what measures should he take? Danzo thinks that the three major ninja villages involved in the attack are talking nonsense, and they must have taken away all the sealing techniques. Hiruzen felt that we should pay attention to the Arataki faction mentioned by the three major powers. Kurigakure, Earth Hidden Village, Cloud Shinobi Village are feeling sorry for their ninjas. Only the Kingdom of Wind squatted silently in the corner of the desert, quietly eating the melons of the entire ninja world. But Juzi, in such an environment where everyone was discussing the incident in the Kingdom of Whirlpool, a piece of news quickly stole the limelight of the matter, took away the melons of the Kingdom of Wind, and turned the Kingdom of Wind into a melon. Big news, big news. Yusuke looked towards the door and saw the guy who was his storyteller again. Hanzo suddenly declared war on the three countries, Fire Country, Earth Country, and Wind Country. So crazy. Alas, war is coming. After the storyteller finished telling the news, Yusuke turned around and looked behind him, Nawaki, whose eyes were already shining brightly, and asked Nawaki, "Are you ready to return to the front line?" Nawaki nodded heavily. "I'm ready." Yusuke walked up to him, patted him on the shoulder, smiled and said with great relief, "Then go, pay attention to safety." So tired. Tsunade leaned on the stool behind him, his head downcast, and his energy were severely drained. Ever since Rain Shinobi declared war on the three major powers at the same time, the battles have been one after another. Not only himself, but everyone is very tired. I want to summon the seven saints, and I want to drink the wine Yusuke made. There's no wine, just a little bit of hot soup. Orochimaru scooped out a bowl from the pot between the three of them and placed it in front of Tsunade. Tsunade took a sip of hot soup to restore some of the body heat that the rain had taken away, and his condition improved slightly. Hearing Tsunade's emotion, Jiraiya complained. "I think so too. I also want to listen to Nono Yu-chan's song. It is said that a new song has been released recently. Orochimaru, can you sing it? I've never been back to Konoha. Even if there is, Yusuke did it himself. How can I sing?" Orochimaru had the urge to hold his forehead. Yusuke always complains to himself that raising children is tiring. It turned out that he didn't understand it yet, but looking at Jiraiya now, Orochimaru said that he understood it a little bit. It's quite tiring. Work hard. None of us are as famous as Nawaki right now. After dividing it between the two people, Orochimaru got himself a bowl, sat down and took a sip. While drinking, he said casually. Konoha Barrier, what a cool name. Jiraiya even felt like laughing because one day he would envy that guy Nawaki for having his own title. It is said that he returned to the village for a while and has become stronger now. It can be said that he has completely confirmed his name. If Nawaki was not very strong before, but he was tough enough, now he is strong and tough. Tsunade is still very concerned about his biological brother. It would be great if Nawaki was on our side. Hearing what Tsunade said, Jiraiya sighed casually. But because of this sentence, the atmosphere in the audience became a bit strange. The threat from Sand Shinobi is now very small, but it turns out that Tsukumo is in charge. On my side, the three people who are most in charge at the moment are myself. As for the one with the highest position and the greatest status, the three people present would all say a phrase they learned from Yusuke, haha. Although I want to hit someone every time I hear these two words, I said that sometimes they can perfectly express my speechless mood. What kind of mistake did the third generation project make that allowed Danzo, an old Biden, to come to the Rain Shinobi front line as the commander-in-chief? By the way, I also learned the term, old Biden, from Yusuke. Everyone here feels that is a good word to describe Danzo. Orochimaru and Tsunade were influenced by Yusuke, partly because of Yusuke's love for Wu and Wu. As for Jiraiya, Jiraiya was not that disgusted with Danzo as a senior executive. As a result, Danzo came for 2 days and was responsible for battlefield dispatching for 2 days. Jiraiya wanted to scold her. Are those operations that normal people can think of? I, Jiraiya, never imagined that this war could have such a loss-maximizing strategy. It was already difficult to fight, but it became even harder because of Danzo's huo. Well, there were no outsiders here anyway, and even Orochimaru, who never sighed, couldn't help but sigh. After doing bad things and running away, Orochimaru already had the idea of killing Danzo. Because Orochimaru is Danzo's successor, Danzo, relying on his commanding position, tried to seduce Orochimaru, and even seemed to want to win an alliance with Orochimaru. Because of Danzo's position, and because I really don't want to accept Danzo's command anymore. So in the end, Orochimaru could only greet Danzo's 18th generation ancestor in his heart, and he could only smile on his face and accept Danzo's kindness. This is not the end. Because he accepted it with a smile, Danzo actually thought that his lobbying was effective. The whole person behaved very cheerfully. In response, Orochimaru had only 2 words to send to Danzo. Stupid. After putting this label on him, Orochimaru made up his mind that he would never work with Danzo in the future. What Yusuke said is right. If you play with fools for a long time, your IQ will easily become strained. Danzo has left matters such as command to himself, but this also means that the responsibilities and pressure on him are becoming heavier and heavier. After Orochimaru sighed, everyone present also sighed. For a moment, the air pressure in the small tent became a little low. Hey, how long will this war last? Everyone knew that Tsunade was not in a good mood, because the news of the disappearance of the Uzumaki kingdom had reached Tsunade's ears. As for Yusuke asking him to help deliver something to the country of Whirlpool. Although I thought it was strange at the time, so I made a note of it, but after such a long time, I have long forgotten all about it. In addition, making an antidote for Hanzo's Sanshotoxin was even more exhausting. It would be great if someone could directly discover those hidden rain shinobi ninjas. It rains here every 3 days, which makes every Konoha shinobi involved in the war extremely annoying. Even if it rains and feels uncomfortable, the problem is that when it rains, it is really difficult to fight the rain shinobi on the opposite side. It's too strenuous, and the opponent's home field advantage is too great. A common little skill like water body torture tortured Konoha's ninjas to death. It rains a lot and there is a lot of water, which provides a huge bonus to the rain shinobi ninja who can transform into water. If a team is not equipped with a better perceptive ninja, it will basically be a dead end if they enter the Kingdom of Rain. However, there are not so many sentient ninjas. It would be great if someone came to help me share the pressure of command and dispatch. Orochimaru heard Jiraiya's emotion, leaned on the backrest, and uttered the same emotion as Jiraiya's. It seems that there is really someone who can meet your needs. Orochimaru and Jiraiya both turned to look at Tsunade. Yusuke. Orochimaru, can you say that Yusuke is not smart? Orochimaru shook his head. Cannot. Jiraiya, can you say that Yusuke's perception is not strong? Cannot. Jiraiya also shook his head. That's it. All it takes is one Yusuke, and you can fulfill your own wishes at the same time. Yes. Jiraiya woke up from the dream and slapped his head suddenly. I'm going back to Konoha now. How about Yusuke inviting me over? Orochimaru, you are the commander. I will go back with your order. Looking at Tsunade, who had stood up excitedly, Orochimaru shook his head helplessly. I agree. Then I'll leave now. Tsunade brushed aside his frustration and pushed the door open. Only Orochimaru and Jiraiya were left looking at each other speechlessly. The office door was violently pushed open, and Tsunade thought he was alone in the office. Unexpectedly, there were 3 people. In addition to Danzo and Hokage, who are still on the front line, the other 2 Hokage assistants Udatane Kaharu and Mitokado Homura are all in the office. Udatane Kaharu and Mitokado Homura, these 2 people are not used to Tsunade's daily operation of just pushing the door open. I originally wanted to reprimand them. After all, there were few people in Konoha who were more noble than them. Anyone who reprimanded them would have to accept it obediently. But after seeing clearly that the person at the door was Tsunade. It is a good habit to follow your heart. Of these 3 disciples of Hiruzen, the other 2 dared to discipline him, but Tsunade really didn't dare to offend him. Hey, everyone is here. Tsunade didn't have a good attitude towards these people, especially Udatane Kaharu. The main direction is the same as my own, which is medical, but I often have disagreements. A Hokage assistant, a Konoha princess, no one can do anything to the other. Tsunade, the task on the front line is not light now, right? What are you doing back here? After glancing back and forth between Udatane Kaharu and Tsunade, 3rd generation decided to step in and be the peacemaker. I'll take someone to the battlefield. Tsunade directly pulled up a chair and sat down in front of the 3 people. One person faced 3 people, and his momentum was not weak at all, and he even had the upper hand. Who? Mikami Yusuke, taking a blind man to the battlefield. Not only because of the other party's questioning, but also because of the tone in which Udatane Kaharu said the word, blind man. This made Tsunade very unhappy. Even though he knew it, Yusuke was not blind and even had a pair of incomparably beautiful eyes. But because this was Yusuke's secret, Tsunade couldn't tell him, which made Tsunade a little angry. That's much more normal than having an idiot commander. These people didn't know that the frontline commander had already been replaced by Orochimaru, so the person Tsunade was referring to was Danzo. Tsunade, what do you mean? Danzo is one of the Hokage assistants. Even if you are the princess of Konoha, you have no right to talk about the Hokage assistants at will. Tsunade rolled his eyes at the other person. Hee. The fire he was simmering on the front line made Tsunade directly launch a, ha-ha, attack. Ask any Konoha ninja and tell him that the battle a week ago was all directed by the other party. You can see if he scolds Danzo. I, Tsunade, have to protect my husband today. What can you, Udatane Kaharu, do? An old woman in her 50s or 60s who probably has never had a partner. Okay, Tsunade, can you tell me why you took Yusuke to the front line? Sarutobi Hiruzen was afraid that Tsunade would say something outrageous again, so he hurriedly interrupted Tsunade. You are not on the battlefield, and you do not understand the situation on the front line. You do not understand the difficulties on the front line. Hokage usually does not go to the battlefield. If Hokage goes to the battlefield, it means that this war has reached a point where one step back is the cliff. But now it is just a rain shinobi village, and it is far from reaching this situation. So what Tsunade said was mainly to Udatane Kaharu and Mitokado Homura. The opponent's water clone, coupled with the environment of rain shinobi village that makes it rain all the time, if Orochimaru hadn't been there, Danzo would have given it all away. Even with Orochimaru here, in the absence of sentient ninjas on the front line, they can only huddle in the camp and not be able to fight at all. As Tsunade said, they have never been to the front line and have no idea what level Rain Shinobi Village, a country that has been secretly accumulating military strength, has grown to. So after Tsunade finished talking about the situation on the front line, everyone present except Tsunade fell into deep thought. Also, I just came to inform you. I will definitely take the person away. Before putting his hand on the handle and about to go out, Tsunade suddenly stopped and turned to look at the three people in the room. Have you been involved in the affairs of Uzushio village in the country of Uzumaki? No, in fact, we have been discussing the Arataki sect that appeared in it. What about asking the three major countries for compensation for Uzumaki village? Tsunade, in the incident in Uzushio village, the Arataki faction is the focus. There was even a hint of hatred in Tsunade's eyes that he would bring when facing an incompetent junior. After coming out of the office, Tsunade went straight to the angel's gift. When I entered the backyard, I saw Yusuke lying on the lounge chair, leisurely watching Mighty pull Minato and Kushina to train. How long will it take to come back this time? Tsunade walked over to Yusuke and lay down on another seat. Yusuke didn't show too much surprise at Tsunade's appearance. Whenever you finish packing, the two of us will set off. Tsunade stretched out comfortably, revealing his perfect figure in front of Yusuke. Where to go? Yusuke took out 2 glasses of wine that he had just made and handed one of them to Tsunade. Go to the front line. Didn't you already hint to me that if there is a problem on the front line, I will take you to the front line? Did I hint that obviously? Yusuke raised an eyebrow and looked at Tsunade with a smile. The main reason is that there is really a shortage of sentient ninjas on the front line. When I think about it, I think of what you said to me before I left Konoha. Let's leave tomorrow morning. We can still have 2 meals. It's been a long time since I've eaten the food you cooked. I really miss you. My cooking skills have improved a lot recently. Then I'm really looking forward to it. The two lay looking at each other for a while before Tsunade suddenly changed the subject. Have you told Kushina about the Whirlpool country? I told her another version. Tsunade was confused, but Yusuke said mysteriously, I'll show you something good. Regarding this good thing, Tsunade's final comment was, you always surprise me. It's strange, the two of them were still on the chair just now. Might Dai scratched his head in confusion, but soon Kushina's call attracted Might Dai's attention. Time quickly came to the next day. Of course, Yusuke did not forget to arrange Kushina and Minato before going out. Minato, you have to protect Kushina, you hear me? During my absence, I will trouble you with Minato and Kushina's teaching work. I will. Mighty Dai nodded heavily and replied in a loud voice. Then I'll set off. Brother, please be safe. I will. Yusuke went out, leaving only the people who were surrounded by the angel's gifts that night, leaving tears of grief. Yusuke's friend whom he only met recently, Nara Shikamaru, is Nara Shikaku's father and the grandfather of the unborn Nara Shikamaru. Standing in front of the door, he sighed. Yusuke, why did you leave just like you said? Yusuke, I'm not dead yet. I miss you so much. Looking at Jiraiya hugging his thigh as soon as they met, Yusuke had similar thoughts. The only good thing is that Tsunade and Orochimaru are close to this place. Otherwise, Yusuke would have killed himself trying to find a piece of tofu. In the end, Orochimaru came forward and took Jiraiya off Yusuke's lap. It went down, but Jiraiya's mood was still not very stable. Yusuke was really scared. Jiraiya suddenly got emotional and shouted something like, when Yusuke Mikami is here, the blue sky will be here. In the end, it was with this cup of apple juice taken out from behind his butt that Jiraiya stabilized. In fact, Jiraiya felt happy. Do you know what it means that a child who cries gets milk? This wave is my big victory. Coming to the front line by himself was originally the result of the combination of Tsunade and the 3 of them, plus Tsunade taking the lead. Danzo didn't know the news. But when he entered the camp, many people saw him, so Yusuke guessed that Danzo's people would come to monitor him soon. The fact that Danzo is the frontline commander of Rain Shinobi was something Tsunade told him on the way here. Yusuke was still curious at first. Danzo really didn't bother himself or Kushina anymore. He was also worried about what bad things Danzo, the 6th child, was secretly harboring. Unexpectedly, Danzo had already arrived at the Rain Shinobi front line without saying a word. Taking advantage of this gap, Yusuke took the initiative to find Orochimaru and learned about the situation. Danzo doesn't care about anything now. Jiraiya, who had been calmed down by a cup of apple juice, took the initiative to interject. I've been carrying people around with him all day long, and those who don't know think he's here to retire. The complaint in his tone was so obvious that Yusuke might not feel it. Yusuke just smiled and said nothing. If you ask Danzo to do something shady behind your back, he might be able to take care of it for you. But if you ask him to come to the front line to direct the overall situation, this is purely an amateur commanding an expert. Any netizen can do it better than Danzo. Talking about Jiraiya, it is impossible for Danzo to provide for the elderly. As for what Danzo wants to do, after thinking in silence for a while, Yusuke told Orochimaru his guess, keep an eye on the place where the body is stored. The corpse is usually sealed into a scroll and stored in a specific place. You mean, Danzo would steal the bodies of frontline ninjas? This was said to Orochimaru, but when Tsunade heard it, his emotions rose, but considering the situation, he still said it in a low voice. Tsunade is responsible for frontline medical care, so Tsunade feels guilty for those Konoha shinobi who died on the frontline. After all, if my level were higher, those ninjas might be able to survive. As a result, Danzo actually wanted to kill the corpse. Yusuke nodded and pressed his hand twice to signal Tsunade to calm down. After World War II, Danzo was able to successfully let Orochimaru study it for him. Danzo's stolen ninja corpses played a big role in World War II. Moreover, what Danzo stole was not just the corpses of ordinary ninjas. Otherwise, where did he get the Sharingan arm? Put this thing in the room where the corpse scroll is stored. Remember to take cover and don't let others discover it. Yusuke placed a brown, small box-like object in Orochimaru's hand. The camera I modified myself can now be used as a surveillance camera. Orochimaru took it, feeling both curious about this thing and admiring Yusuke's thoughtfulness. What Danzo did is completely enough to impeach him and make him step down directly. Jiraiya was not very interested in what Yusuke gave Orochimaru, but he cared a lot about what Yusuke said and directly expressed his inner thoughts. It's impossible for Danzo to steal in person. Even if you can catch the root members to steal, or even arrest them directly, there is actually no way to prove that it was Danzo who ordered it. Danzo still has room to cut off from the person who was caught. Quote, that should be enough to impeach him. Let Danzo return to Konoha. Use Danzo in exchange for some Jonin to come and support. I agree with both hands and feet. The resentment in his heart made Jiraiya continue with his idea. As long as you don't kill him now, he will definitely not return to Konoha. If he returns to Konoha, then Rain Shinobi Battlefield agrees, and he will get no credit at all. Then I'm going to beat him to death now. Jiraiya was just talking out of anger, and Yusuke just stopped talking. Don't you want to go? Then I will make way for you directly, do whatever you like. If you think you can, just go. As soon as Yusuke finished saying this, he sensed someone approaching the tent and hurriedly said to Orochimaru, Orochimaru, put your things away. Tsunade and Jiraiya instantly understood that this was someone coming, and there was a high probability that he was the protagonist they were just talking about. After a while, the tent was opened from the outside, and Danzo walked into the tent surrounded by root members. After looking around the four people in the room, Danzo directly targeted Yusuke. Yusuke Mikami, this is an important frontline area. Why are you, a blind man, doing this on the frontline? Yusuke hurriedly apologized. Just what he said made Tsunade and the three of them want to laugh inexplicably, especially Tsunade, whose shoulders couldn't stop shaking. Do you know how uncomfortable it is to hold back your laughter? Who did I think he was? It turned out to be a half-blind man. Oh, no, it was Elder Shimura Danzo. I'm so sorry for missing you. I'm so sorry. Besides, I have reported to the third generation, and the third generation has agreed that I will come to the front line. After all, the front line is in short supply of ninjas with strong sensory abilities. I think you also know that. It was obviously a normal thing to say, but anyone who heard it could feel that what Yusuke said at the end was, you, Danzo, don't know anything about the situation on the front lines. Speaking of which, I have never had a chance to thank Elder Danzo. Last time, because of your misunderstanding, our three businesses were directly exempted from tax for 3 years. Seeing that Danzo was still standing at the door, his face flushed with pain and wanting to retaliate with more sharp words, Yusuke directly chose to continue the offensive. If you ask Yakushi Nanoyu to come to our place, you can't wait to come. Yusuke didn't believe Danzo had never investigated the Coke incident. I guess when Danzo sees the current sales of Coke, he probably won't want to look at it again after watching it once. That number made Danzo's eyes glow green with greed, so there was no problem at all. Ha, glib, since you also know your own strengths, then I hope you can make full use of your value. After saying that, Danzo was about to walk out. Before going out, Danzo suddenly stopped, left another word and left. Jiraiya, you drank on the front line and knowingly committed the crime. As the commander-in-chief, I will punish you with 3 days of confinement. In Danzo's eyes, Yusuke was just using his words. And when he finally grounded Jiraiya, it was not an unintentional move, but a deliberate move. On this battlefield, there are only 3 people in charge. As a result, it would be better for you, mister, to just ban the most diligent one among the 3 capable people. So when the news spread to the camp, the ninja's complaints against Danzo became even greater. But Danzo didn't care at all. His heart was already occupied by anger. There is only one thing he wants now, and that is to defeat Yusuke, even if he wants to kill him directly. This is on the battlefield, and the death of Mikami Yusuke is really not a big deal. When Yusuke came out of Tsunade's tent the next morning, Danzo couldn't wait to put his conspiracy in front of Yusuke. Mikami Yusuke, because of your excellent sensory abilities, you have been assigned to today's patrol. Yusuke didn't ask who gave the order. After all, the person who informed me clearly felt the seal on his tongue. Where is the meeting point? I'll take you. Yusuke walked behind this route, and began to guess Danzo's thoughts in his mind. Jiraiya was sentenced to solitary confinement, Orochimaru was responsible for command, and Tsunade was responsible for the wounded on the battlefield. So in this mission, the 3 people who have the best relationship with Yusuke are not with Yusuke. Therefore, the most likely obstacles during the execution of the mission have now been directly eliminated by Danzo. Yusuke almost died laughing at this. Danzo, you old man really cares about food but not about fighting. Do you really think that I didn't kill the roots in the Sakura forest at that time? So for this mission, Yusuke has basically no burden in his heart. It is enough that the soldiers come to block it, and the water comes and the earth covers it. The ninja who was in charge of leading the team today was a regular customer of Angel's Gift, and he recognized Yusuke at a glance. But this was on the battlefield, not the Angel's Gift tavern, so I asked Yusuke quite unconfidently, Yusuke. Hey, long time no see. Why are you here? Your eyes. No matter how much I open a tavern, I can't see with my eyes. I haven't lost my identity as Ascension Ninja. The 3rd generation still trusts me. My ninja retirement report was rejected in person. The 3rd generation project is about not wanting to hide myself, not being noticed, and fearing that I might secretly do bad things. But in the final analysis, he still did not agree to the retirement application at that time, so Yusuke's identity still remains. Serious Jonin, are you happy to have Ascension Ninja going on a mission with you? I really want Ascension Ninja to go on a mission with me. Thinking of the recent experience of being hung up and hammered by Rain Shinobi, Jonin, who was leading the team, had the urge to cry in Yusuke's arms. In fact, not only the leader, but also the people below knew Yusuke and did not know Yusuke. They still had a pessimistic attitude towards Yusuke going on a mission together. No matter what, the bandage on Yusuke's eyes is still unconvincing. But when I heard that they were sentient ninjas, they behaved almost like the leader. Okay, you are leading the team, I am now considered to be in the team. Yusuke said something and stood in the queue. After joining the team, I also received a warm welcome. At the same time, in the headquarters where Orochimaru is sitting, the future Sannin are gathering for breakfast. Today's inspection team has already left. Is it really okay for Yusuke to go directly? Jiraiya is still quite worried. Although Yusuke might have beaten him in a sparring match, it wasn't a life and death fight, so he didn't use his full strength. Especially after Orochimaru explained to himself that this was Danzo's conspiracy. I became even more worried. Tsunade didn't show any concern at all, and said as if he was joking, if he beats you 10 times, there will be no problem at all. Orochimaru smiled and said nothing, obviously taking Tsunade's words as a joke. Tsunade also exposed this article directly. Yusuke always fought against the allied forces of the three kingdoms from a hanging position, and it was not easy to guard against the roots and rain shinobi. Let's talk about the team that has already set off. The Konoha family has a big business, so the camp is relatively large. But since Danzo became the commander, he has set the camp in a relatively back place, that is, further away from rain shinobi. After Orochimaru took over, he began to advance into the land of rain. Orochimaru knew very well that the war would not be solved at all if he cowered like Danzo. But the further they advance, the more obvious Rain Shinobi's home advantage becomes. Rain Shinobi is also well aware of his advantages and often launches small-scale incursions into Fire Country camps. Under such an environment, an area with frequent small-scale battles formed between the Rain Shinobi position and Konoha's position. That's why Konoha has this kind of patrol team to actively look for Rain Shinobi in the middle area. Yusuke also behaves very seriously in the team. In addition to turning on his own perception, he also took out Ruishui. After the weapons are equipped, they are not necessarily the normal size. Yusuke can control his weapons and equipment to a very small state. For example, Ruishui, who is now the size of a glass marble, is hiding in his hand. As for why Ruishui was used, it was because of Ruishui's weapon skills. HP increased by 16%. When there are enemies around, the damage caused by the character equipped with this weapon will be increased by 20%, regardless of whether the character is on the field or in the background of the team. The point lies in this description. When there are enemies around. If there are people around who are hostile to you, they will be judged as enemies. In this case, Ruishui will light up, which is a special effect of Ruishui. Before setting off, Yusuke didn't think about Ruishui. He only thought of Ruishui after leaving the camp. When he took it out, Ruishui wasn't even bright yet. This has to be taken out at the camp, if the water is sure to be bright. As we all know, Danzo's root is basically an extension of Danzo's will. If Danzo is hostile to himself, then this hostility is transmitted to the members of the root because of Danzo. And if the water is not bright, it means that there are no root people in this team. Is our patrol route fixed? The leading ninja also knew that this was Yusuke's first time on such a mission, so he took the initiative to explain to Yusuke. The advance has been hindered recently, so the patrol routes during this period are basically fixed, only the frequency is not certain. I see. Yusuke nodded and continued to follow the lead ninja. You're right here waiting for me, Danzo. In Danzo's tent, Danzo was drinking hot soup and listening to his subordinates reporting to him. And the person who reported to Danzo was the ninja who went to inform Yusuke of the mission this morning. Have everything been arranged? Everything has been arranged. He has set off with the main force now, and our people are also ready. Danzo did not answer, but simply waved his hand and let the ninja go out. The moment the tent door was opened, a ray of sunlight slipped into the room, revealing the victorious and fierce look in Danzo's eyes. Mikami Yusuke, let's see how you escape from my grasp this time. His eyes returned to Yusuke. At least now, Yusuke's situation is not even the slightest bit different from Danzo's. Yusuke looked cheerful, and the expressions of the ninjas around him were very similar to Yusuke's. Although this kind of emotion will weaken people's perception of danger. What's more, we are still on the battlefield and outside the camp, so we don't know when the danger will come. However, everyone still couldn't help but slow down their emotions a little. No longer as nervous as when I first left camp. As for why this is the case, the ninjas around Yusuke just want to say, if you have a Mikami Yusuke by your side, you will know how I feel. At 2 o'clock, there are 2 bushes below, 15 meters high, and one above the branches. The 2 ninjas who were suddenly spoken to by Yusuke immediately realized the meaning of Yusuke's words. Almost subconsciously, he looked in the direction Yusuke said. Don't look, it's easy to be exposed. Observe with the corner of your eyes. I said 3, 2, 1, throw the kunai together, I hit the one on the tree, do you understand? Understood. This time I learned the lesson and simply replied in a low voice without any unnecessary movements. 3, 2, 1, lose. The 3 kunai were shot out almost at the same time, causing a sound of kunai piercing the leaves during the flight. Enemy attack. The tense nerves collapsed in an instant, and all the ninjas almost instantly entered a state of combat readiness, picking up weapons to guard the surroundings. Yusuke is a sensing ninja after all. Whether it is for the purpose of protecting him or for Yusuke to sense, the leading ninja rushed to Yusuke's side as soon as possible. Let them let their guard down. Yusuke patted the other person's shoulder and motioned for the other person to relax. Afraid of unnecessary misunderstandings, Yusuke explained directly to the other party. I asked you to shoot the kunai just now. Follow the direction where the kunai was thrown just now, and you can find the 3 ninjas. As for whether you live or die, it all depends on how well your people throw the kunai. Yusuke explained quickly, but the ninja who took the lead also understood what Yusuke meant. But the worries in his heart were obviously not completely eliminated, so he just walked over with the large army. The place Yusuke pointed out was very clear, and the bodies of 3 people were found directly. After seeing these 3 corpses, the leading ninja also understood why Yusuke did what he did just now. It was just a 3-person team, so there was absolutely no need for the large army to suddenly stop advancing. If a large force suddenly stops, it will easily arouse the other party's vigilance. The other party may launch a direct attack or run away directly. After 2 waves of this kind of thing, everyone felt that today was very different from usual. Although it has started to rain, today, there is no fear like in the past. Do you understand the confidence that Yusuke brings to me? Stop. This is the first time Yusuke has given such an order. After all, it was Yusuke who gave the order and carried out the sneak attack all this time. All you need to do is send someone to temporarily leave the team, do some last-ditch damage, and recycle Rain Shinobi's forehead protector. This thing is undoubtedly the most suitable for recording combat achievements. Military achievements are one aspect, and another aspect is the feeling this journey brings to oneself. Because it is a sneak attack, the success rate of one hit kill can be said to be quite high. Let me ask you, how many opportunities will you have in your life to kill an enemy instantly with a kunai? What's wrong? The leading ninja asked hurriedly when he saw Yusuke's expression became serious. There is a large group of ninjas ahead. There is a team of 15 people directly in front. In addition, there are also a dozen people hiding on the road between our group of ninjas. Are you trying to surround us? It's possible. Yusuke nodded heavily. How about retreating directly? It's raining heavily now. If there are too many people on the other side, our previous tactics may not be effective. Moreover, today's harvest can be regarded as the biggest harvest recently. The leading ninja didn't notice at all that he had begun to actively ask Yusuke's opinion. After all, Yusuke's performance was so good that even when he went on missions with Jiraiya, it had never been so easy. Yusuke said nothing, holding his chin, looking like he was deep in thought. I think I can give it a try. You said give it a try, then give it a try. Trust me so much. Yusuke couldn't believe it for a moment. What did I do to trust me so much? If you don't trust your comrades on the battlefield, who can you trust? The lead ninja patted Yusuke on the shoulder with a smile on his face. And it's not just me who trusts you, they also trust you. Yusuke looked back and saw that several people who had just heard him speak nodded their heads solemnly. That's it. Along the way, I will tell the people scattered around where to hide. At this time, let our people leave the team directly and use the fastest and most silent operation to deal with the opponent. In this way, their encirclement will be replaced by our own encirclement. To be honest, Yusuke also felt that his idea was a bit risky. However, since these people trust themselves, so what reason do you have for not giving them the same level of trust? Even if something goes wrong at that time, the big deal is to show a little bit of edge and save these people. I have been hiding my edge for long enough, so why not show it a little? No problem. Patting Yusuke's arm, the leading ninja began to inform everyone in the team of the news. He also took the initiative to rank the ninjas in the team. This number means that he will be the first to leave the team to deal with the people who want to surround him. Set off. After lining up, the reorganized team set off directly and got into the encirclement accompanied by endless rain. 11 o'clock direction, 300 meters, stepping on the branches, 2 people. The 2 people quietly left the group and got into the jungle on both sides of the road. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.